What's up, everybody? He got it that time. Good job, Sam. We are back. GameFace is back in the mother effing house. It's been too damn long, Matt Kyle.
Yep, over a month.
It's been over a month. It's been an insane month. We lost our TriCaster guy over the holidays. We came back from the holidays. He never gave us a 2-week notice or anything. We actually called him on the Tuesday to do the show. We're like, hey, we're doing the show. And he's like, oh, I got a job out of state. I can't do it. And I was like, well, thanks for the notice. So that started the scramble.
Not even a card.
Not a card. No flowers, no nothing. So that started the scramble. So we started to find a new TriCaster operator. And then I literally got the death pox or the monkey funk or something, man. I was so sick. Really sick. I thought I was going to have to go to the doctor, but I fought through it. I am here. Matt is here. We are ready to kick off 2016 in style.
I was fine. I was ready for this.
He's just been waiting all this time, poor guy. He keeps texting me. He's like, are you ready yet? Are you ready to do it now?
Well, I keep, I would have things where I'm just like, he'd be dead sick in bed and wouldn't be texting. I didn't know that, and I was just like, does he expect me to beat? I'm that's what I'm worried about is not showing up. And he'll be like, where are you?
Yeah. But we're here. We're back. This show is going to be absolutely huge. So if you're just starting to watch it, I highly recommend getting yourself a snack, making yourself comfortable. We are going to do the biggest 2016 preview anywhere.
I'm looking at we have the rundowns taped under the cameras. There are 52 bullet points on these bad boys. Okay?
Just to show you what you guys are about to experience.
They are major.
This is the rundown that we're about to take you guys through. So once you watch this show, you're going to know everything that's going on with every platform in 2016. Hopefully we get some surprises along the way. How was your holidays, Matt, now that we're back?
It was good. Someone was saying, a couple people were saying that I'm a little low.
A little low, your volume.
About audio.
Thanks for the heads up.
Tech problems will be happening. We're going to get our legs back here.
Yep, might be a little bumpy. We have a new TriCaster operator who is just figuring everything out, but I have full confidence it'll do a good job today. So what was your favorite gift that you got, Matt, over the holidays?
Oh, my favorite gift? Let me think. What did I get? I think my favorite gift, as far as things I didn't ask for that were like a surprise, was I got, my mom randomly got me this giant Masters of the Universe He-Man art book thing.
Oh, cool.
That comes in this giant Grayskull cover, and you open the drawbridge and slide the top off, and then open it sideways again, and then you get this nice book that kind of goes through the whole creation of the franchise and all the cartoons and all the voice actors and everything. And I had no idea, that was coming, and that was a nice surprise. That was probably my favorite thing.
Cool. I really didn't get a ton of stuff this year, honestly, but I did get a couple gaming things. I got a Polar White Xbox One controller, which I'm pretty hyped for. It's got the gold D-pad on it. But my favorite thing that I got was a Logitech G910, I believe it is, mechanical keyboard. And, I always looked at those keyboards that had the light-up keys, and I was like, what is the point of that? The crazy chroma keys or whatever. I didn't realize you could program each individual key to be whatever color you want it to be. And so I have it all set up, and you can set up profiles for different games. So I have one profile for League of Legends and one for first-person shooters, and so I have all these different sets. It's awesome, and it's also quiet. I have a Black Widow that I had before this, and it was so loud, it would wake up my wife in another bedroom.
That's what I have. I have the Mass Effect Black Widow.
And I love that keyboard as far as using it, but it's really loud. This one is dead silent, you don't hear anything. So I'm pretty psyched. I definitely give the Logitech G910 a thumbs up for any of you guys looking for a new keyboard. It is expensive, but it was really the only thing I asked for Christmas. That's kind of I find something that I want, and then that's the only thing I ask for to make sure I get it. That's my strategy over the holidays. So hopefully you guys all had a great holiday, and you're having a great New Year so far. I guess one thing I would say is that not a lot has happened over the last couple weeks.
No, it's been pretty quiet.
And, we're going to obviously go over a lot of the topics and things that have happened over the last couple of weeks. We're not going to spend
not quite if you're into that VR thing, though.
Yeah, that's true. So we do have a big show to get to. I don't want to spend a ton of time sitting here kind of shooting the shit, so to speak. We've got a lot of topics to get to, so let's roll to the Big Six. All right, so the first topic of the Big Six for our first show of 2016, we're basically just going to round up all the stuff that's happened while we've been gone for a couple weeks. I have to say, there wasn't that much.
It wasn't huge. It was It was no June.
Like, if we had done shows the last couple weeks, like, those shows probably would have sucked.
Well, no, because we're good.
Right. Well,
but,
we wouldn't have sucked, but hey.
We can talk about anything.
We really can. Yeah, we have no problem with that.
We've established that at this point. But, yeah, it would have been sparse.
Well, basically,
a lot of tangents.
We would have ended up making up our own topics. Right. They wouldn't have been related to they would have been industry related, but they wouldn't have been related to...
It would have been the GameFace equivalent of, like, BuzzFeed.
Yeah, exactly. It would have been like...
Top 5 platformers with the color blue in the title.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So I don't feel like we missed out too much by not doing the show for the last couple of weeks, but there's a few things we want to talk about. And obviously, I think the biggest story from the last few weeks is the price of the Oculus Rift being announced, $599 US, Matt. that notorious price point that we all know.
No one should ever touch again. We should have learned after 2006.
And you know what? Just because of that, they should have made it like $601.
Yeah.
Or $598.
Anything. Oh, yeah.
What do you think, Matt? Did you buy it?
No. Of course not. No, not for $600. There's nothing there.
A lot of people did.
I'm sure I know a lot of people that sold out their first like shipment, although I'm sure a few thousand of those had to go to Kickstarter backers.
I'm also wondering, how big is that
first shipment? Big is that first shipment? Clearly, the answer here is that you should have backed it for $300.
I know.
You got a
Hindsight,
dev
man.
kit, and you got the actual retail model. Like that's a great deal.
How did they sell the dev kit for so little, and then when they get the retail kit done, it's like almost double the price?
I have no idea. I really don't know.
Like, I know a lot of people
how that works.
did end up buying it. I mean, Brent, the guy who's built Sifted, he bought one on day one, and I do have to admit, like, my birthday is coming up first week of February, and I'm thinking, like, maybe I ask for it or get somebody to chip in on it.
My birthday is second week of February, and
No?
Not until I see what they got. I'm interested in Eve Valkyrie because I played that at E3 and I thought it was really cool, but it ain't $600 cool, and, like, I need to see what this thing is. I mean, a lot of the games right now are like neat, but that's as far as I'll go. Like they're like, I'm worried about we're running into another Kinect situation.
Well, a lot of the news coming out right now about VR is all kind of pointing towards Oculus. Like, most of the developers are saying they're supporting it first, and I mean,
what's the competitor that like
Vive?
Vive sounds like even more expensive.
Well, there was that rumor that came out that was like it's $1,500, but I don't think that's true.
But
yeah,
I think it might be closer to $1,000 than the Oculus.
I would agree with that.
And the PlayStation VR is looking like it might be a little less.
Well, it's like the cut rate. It's like the generic VR. It's like when you used to go to the grocery store back in the 80s and you'd have those brands that just had black and white labels. That's like PlayStation VR.
Well, and you're going to run into the problem of like, everyone's like, whoa, why can't you just run No Man's Sky in VR? It's like, well, I don't know if the PlayStation 4 can do No Man's Sky twice, one for each eye, at a high enough frame rate would like to do that.
That's why I'm starting to wonder if they're starting to backpedal a little bit about No Man's Sky being for PlayStation VR, because they have yet to officially announce that that's the case.
They've never said that officially.
Right.
It's just been something everyone's like, that's a no-brainer because it would be really cool, but like, I don't know if the system can do it.
Yeah, I don't either.
Like I think you're going to end up more with the, I think stuff's going to look more like a early PS3 game.
I mean, some of the games have looked pretty good. Like, Riggs looks good.
Yeah.
I mean, whether you want to play the game or not, that's totally up to your perspective.
Smaller
self-contained maps, and it's not. I mean, it's not. There's not a big draw distance there.
You know what I'd love to see done in VR? Rocket League.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I would get sick playing Rocket League.
Sure, it'd be worth it.
It would be, at least for as long as you last, anyway.
But it's like people that are expecting like to be able to play Madden in VR, first person on their PlayStation 4. That's not happening.
Well, one, because EA would actually have to program.
EA would have to be involved in VR for the first year. But that's the thing, is like, I just don't. I mean, I guess I don't really have that much of an excuse because like I do this, for work, and so I could probably like at least probably end up being a tax write-off or something.
Yeah.
But like, that's so much money for something that I just look at and I'm just like, oh, that would be cool to try. But like, I don't think I want it yet.
We'll see. Like I said, my birthday's coming up. I may try to get the wifey to like go halvesies with me on it. Maybe I put in half of it.
Yeah. Well, I should also know that I'm not skeptical about VR as a medium or whatever you want to call it. I'm skeptical about like if this thing doesn't blow up immediately, if everyone's not going to just back off of it.
Yeah.
And kind of pull a PlayStation move.
Well, they did put out
away from it. And then, I'm sure, if the Oculus and all this stuff isn't successful the way they want it to be, and everybody sort of lets it cool off, VR will be back again with another shot. This isn't the end, one way or the other.
Well, they did a survey, a pre-GDC survey, which is coming up in a couple months as well.
And that'll be a big VR.
It will be. When they did a pre-show survey, and they said that interest in developers in VR has doubled since last year. But then it was 13% of the developers said that they're going to be working on it. And I was like, okay, that's 13's double 6.5, but that's still, it's twice and nothing, still nothing.
Well,
so
how much can you really devote to this thing in terms of resources and cost when it's how big is your audience?
What's the return on investment?
Yeah, what's the return on investment considering let's say you have 100% of Rift owners buy a game. How many copies is that? 5,000?
Yeah. I mean, it'll be interesting to see if Oculus actually even puts out the numbers of how many people have pre-ordered it and what's their yield going to be in manufacturing.
At least about 3,000 have it because that's somebody backed at that level.
Right.
But
that's not enough, man.
No.
You need a lot more than that. All right, we got to move on. There's too much show here. We can't dwell too long. But so you're saying no way. I'm saying I'm feeling a little weak and I might give in.
I'm saying I'll use yours.
Yeah. All right, so another big topic that happened over the break. Uncharted 4 was delayed about a month to April 26th. Big deal or not a big deal, Matt?
I don't care.
No?
I'll play it when it gets here. Make it good.
Are you concerned at all about the game? Because there's been 2 delays now.
I'm concerned in the sense that Amy Hennig didn't write it. But,
right.
Delayed or not delayed isn't really going to affect that.
But it's starting to sound like when Amy Hennig left, that they may have completely reworked the game.
I think that's true. Yeah.
And that's making me a little nervous.
Been a couple of little comments here and there. What was it, Alan Tudyk, who was in the cast originally when Hennig was directing it? Then him and another guy left after, and the other guy said something like, "Yeah, we saw what they were doing. We decided we didn't want to be involved or whatever." And I don't know if that's spinning off of they just weren't rehired or who knows what happened internally, but I'm
a little nervous about it.
I'm a little nervous in the sense that it's not the people who love those characters seeing these characters off.
Yeah, you have all these people working on this series for an entire trilogy, and then apparently something happens with Drake here. They've said over and over that they can't really make another Uncharted with Drake after this game.
Which means he's either dead or he retires permanently.
Right. I'm starting to think if maybe his brother ends up being the new main character since they've kind of really brought him front and center.
I think his brother's the bad guy.
Could be.
I don't know. I'm just going by your usual adventure tropes.
Right.
But long lost brother shows up out of nowhere, having been in a Turkish prison.
You're right.
It's bro's out for revenge, folks.
He's just in trouble and needs help, up. And that's usually how it works in TV shows and films.
But maybe in the big finale, Drake loses his hands.
Yeah.
So he can't pop and stop shoot anymore, and he can't climb up ledges.
Or maybe he gets
the end of Uncharted.
He gets arthritis or something, and he can't bend down anymore. All right, let's move on to another big topic over the break. Actually, just over the last week or so, is pretty much been discovered that The Division is an MMO. That's really what it's come down to. It's not really a third-person shooter first. It's a lot like Destiny. There's a lot of grinding involved. Originally, Brooklyn was supposed to be in the game. Now they've called it down. Brooklyn's not going to be in the initial release for the game, although word on the street is that Manhattan is so freaking big that no one's going to miss Brooklyn anyway. Matt, are you surprised to find out, one, that it is MMO-like, and two, are you disappointed to find this out?
I am not surprised because I always kind of got a little bit of that feeling from the way they would do those demos where it was all the actors pretending to be players and come back to my base and do
See, I never got that vibe from it at all.
I totally got that vibe from it. I didn't know if they were going to go all the way. I thought maybe it would be like a Battlefield thing where it was you get 80 players on a server, something like that. But I wasn't sure if they'd go full Destiny. I thought they were trying to make you think it was going to be a Destiny thing, but where you could just team up with people and see their base and hang out. And
I just thought it was a cooperative third-person shooter.
I mean, I thought it would probably end up a cooperative third-person shooter, but like clearly what they were showing at like the events, like E3 and stuff, was like they were trying to sell the idea of this wide-open online world.
Yeah.
I don't care really.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm interested in because the engine is really cool looking, and hopefully we can get a group of like decent people together to play in that regard. But like, one way or the other, I'll play it.
I feel like the Tom Clancy brand is starting to get a little fast and loose at this point.
Yeah, I don't know how this really fits in the Tom Clancy world, other than it's just like people with realistic guns in an urban setting trying to not die.
Yeah.
But whatever, that's what they got to use to get it made or get it sold. Fine. It's not. It certainly seems like something that could have been a Tom Clancy book if necessary.
Yeah. See, for me, my concern really, I'm not concerned about the fact that it's like an MMO or it has MMO elements to it. My bigger concern is that it may turn out to be like Destiny, where it's not really an engaging game to play by yourself. There's not really a campaign that kind of sucks you in. Because I felt like playing Destiny's campaign still felt like an MMO. It was like the missions were really generic, and it's like, go over here, this guy talks to you, he says, go kill X number of blah, blah, blah. You come back, you get your reward, rinse, repeat.
Well, I'm hoping
I really thought this was like a campaign with a story that like evolves over time.
I don't think Ubisoft does those anymore.
Yeah, apparently not. Yeah,
Unless your name is Assassin's Creed.
Right. Well, at least there's a campaign in this one.
Yeah.
Unlike Siege.
I'm kind of hoping that they learned from Destiny, and let's not forget that the Taken King stuff is actually pretty darn good.
Yeah.
So it can be done. You just have to try.
Yeah.
And I will say that I think the Ubisoft teams are probably a little more in touch with what's happening in the wide industry world than Bungie seemed to be in September 2014.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I mean, it looks cool as hell.
It does. Yeah.
But I think there's people in the chat saying, like, I need to see reviews. And I'm like, I agree. I need to see reviews.
Yeah. In fact, I think right before the show started, I got a beta key sent to me. So I'm probably going to start playing that tomorrow. Maybe I'll even do a stream tomorrow or tomorrow night of The Division. If I'm okay. I haven't looked at the embargo stuff on it yet, but I did just get a beta key. So I'll be checking it out here in the next couple days, and definitely we'll be talking about it on next week's show. So make sure you check it out for that. Another big story over the break, PlayStation 4 hits 38 million worldwide sales.
Yeah, but consoles are dead, right?
Yeah, exactly. At this point, it's pretty much doubled up Xbox One. Mm-hmm. The race is over.
Yeah.
I think we kind of knew that even before, but the PlayStation 4 dominated the holidays.
As Sony would have said back in the day, the race for second place is undecided, but the point is moot.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's no catching PlayStation at this point.
No, it's another PlayStation 2. Basically.
Unless, it would take a miracle. Xbox would have to come up with some game that just transcends all video games ever.
Like Sony moves to the PlayStation 5 like earlier than expected, and the Xbone for some reason keeps selling in substantial numbers for years afterwards, and eventually crosses. Like PlayStation 3 did with the Wii.
Yeah, one thing I would say that Microsoft could do to kind of turn the tide would be if they somehow worked out something with Oculus, but Xbox One isn't powerful enough to run Oculus.
No, not the VR thing is not really in the cards for the consoles.
Yeah, and I think we're starting to see that with even PlayStation VR as well.
Yeah.
So race is pretty much over for console supremacy. That doesn't mean that owning an Xbox One is a bad thing or that you're not going to get great games. In fact, we're going to preview a lot of the exclusive games for both the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One in this show.
It's got a good year ahead.
And I think when you stack them up side by side,
it's a close race. But
we'll talk about it. But
they did just lose a very important piece of that race.
Yeah, and we'll talk about that as well.
Which is our next thing.
Yep. So the last kind of catch-up thing we want to talk about, Scalebound, delayed to 2017. That, as you were kind of insinuating there, it really kind of could have been a game changer for Xbox One this year.
This one hurts. I'm not happy about this one.
Yeah,
I'm really looking forward to that.
I'm
still looking forward.
If I look at the Xbox One or looked at the Xbox One lineup for this year, that was the one game I was more excited for than any of them. More than Gears, more than.
Like, in theory, I'm more excited about Crackdown because I love Crackdown 1 so much, but I also don't trust Crackdown 3. So I would have to say Scalebound I felt like was more of a sure thing to me.
Yeah, it almost seems like it ended up being a game where Platinum maybe bit off more than it could chew, despite the fact that it's worked. I think this game started as a Wii game, like the original Wii.
Wow.
So they've been working on it a long time, and I still think, like, it probably evolved and changed over time. It's probably just supposed to be some linear action adventure game on the Wii.
Yeah.
And it turned into this open world, which is really something that Platinum's never done before.
Yeah, and I wonder if they're pushing, like, maybe Microsoft is pushing, it's like, hey, we want a Dark Souls.
That could be. Yeah. I mean, I was really disappointed. In fact, that's probably the biggest news for me personally over the break that kind of hit me the hardest was that Scalebound wasn't coming this year. I wouldn't even be surprised.
And the fact that they said it this soon, so far out.
They just knew.
They knew.
They realized.
We're nowhere near. We're nowhere close. So we're probably talking like almost 2 years.
It may be a Q4 2017 game.
I feel like we're going to be seeing it around October.
But I'd also prefer that they take their time and get it right.
Yeah, for sure. But it's just
because there's a lot of promise with the game, and
you've got those little milestones though in your head for the course of your gaming year, and like one of them just got taken away.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed. I mean, the good news is 2016, as everyone's going to see as they watch this show,
no shortage,
is shaping up to quite possibly be the best, and I'm not even exaggerating here, the best year ever for video games.
Better than 98?
I seriously think it has a very good chance. I know that's a big statement. Look, I've been pounding the chest of 98 for a long time. Everybody who's been in this industry a long time looks back to 98 as like the golden year of video games. But, I mean, when this show's done, Matt, anybody who watches this show, it'll be hard to argue against it. I mean, provided all these games don't completely tank.
True. Everything's delayed.
Possible, but highly unlikely.
I think 1 or 2 of them will be good. I would hope.
I would hope so. At least 1 or 2. I mean, if not, it would be the ultimate failure of video games.
It would be the 2006 Sony press conference of video game release years.
Exactly. That's a good way to put it. So that's pretty much it. That's
and it would
all.
Strike me in my weak spot for massive damage.
Yeah. So I know it seems like we've been away for a long time, but those are really the only big things that have happened since
we didn't really miss much in terms of news.
No. I mean, we could have done great shows just because it's us. But
who doesn't want to watch us talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about for 2 hours? That's what you paid your money for.
Yep. So, that's our wrap-up of the stuff that we've missed, getting you guys up to speed, at least giving you our perspective on the big news of what's happened over the last month or so. Let's move on to the next topic, which is our massive PlayStation 4 preview for 2016. Everybody's been talking about how, last year was a horrible year for first party for PlayStation 4. I wouldn't say it was horrible, but certainly disappointing, I think would be a good term to use. Everyone pointing towards 2016 as this golden year for the PlayStation 4, the year it comes into its own and becomes the machine that we all thought it could be when we got it at launch and we're like, where's all the games? So let's start plowing through these. First game we're going to talk about, Uncharted 4. We already talked about it a little bit.
But here's your first half of the year, just golden boy for PlayStation 4 owners. I mean,
not much of a long wait, which is good. Obviously, was supposed to have been released last year, and then it was supposed to have been like a month from now, and now it's a few months from now.
My only concern is I hope they're trying to polish it up right, and not just like, oh, the multiplayer is not working. It's like, because I don't care about the multiplayer in that game.
I don't either. I really don't.
I'm here for your story and see. I mean, the multiplayer videos they put out look really cool, but
they look kind of cool. They don't look amazing.
I got other stuff to do.
I mean, they get me about as excited for the multiplayer in Uncharted 4 as the multiplayer for Uncharted 2 and Uncharted 3 did.
Yeah.
It's one of those things I mess around with for a few days after I finish the campaign. I realize that I'm never going to spend enough time to be competitive in it that is required, and I move on. It's all about the campaign with this game, and everything we've seen from the campaign looks absolutely freaking amazing. So that's the thing, though, right? $60 game.
$60 game. It's gonna be about 7 hours long, maybe a little longer if you pick up all the little collectibles.
But here's the thing, Matt.
But I'll play this again.
I just visually, this game is so far ahead of anything. Anything. Even PC games. It's like, look, technically it's like, okay, well, maybe it doesn't push as many polygons or whatever, but the whole package as far as graphics are concerned, all the effects and the art and the attention to detail and the polygons and the frame rate and all that rolled together, I don't know if there's a better looking game in existence now or on the horizon.
Close. I mean,
I mean, even The Witcher will have to bow down to this game.
Oh, you can't drag Geralt through the mud. Not like that.
Yeah, and The Witcher is an amazing-looking game, and particularly on PC.
Witcher's got some crazy effects going on at high levels on PC and stuff, but like, there's nothing like that.
The attention to detail probably is what really sets it apart.
Yeah, well, I mean, just in that one 17-minute clip from E3, like that we were watching just now, like there's more environment work in that than most whole games.
It's insane. Just everything. Just a little physics
15
of
minutes. It's 15
just
minutes.
watch the little can in the back of the Jeep slam around. See it?
Yeah.
See that little can? See it? Watch it move around whenever that's what I'm talking about. Like,
and the tire is the spare tire is bouncing up and down.
Yeah.
Differently.
Right.
Than the can because it's a different.
That's the type of stuff I'm talking about. And look, a lot of people will never notice that stuff, but the people who watch GameFace...
But your brain did.
Yeah, and the people who subscribe to Sifted are the kind of people that do notice this kind of stuff, and this game is going to be sweet, sweet vindication for everybody who bought a PlayStation 4 and has waited all this time for it, for that one game that just nobody can deny is the top of the heap. So,
which a lot of people thought was going to be the Order for some reason, but...
I mean, it was
that game is very pretty.
It is very pretty, but it's also...
It's not something you can hold up and be like, look at this game.
It's also letterboxed, and they cut some corners there. Like, this is just full screen 16:9 glory. So
it's like they say, naughty gods.
Yeah, I mean, look, this game could suck, and I still feel like it would probably be worth $60, like just to watch it, just to see it and experience it.
Can do.
Exactly. So
I don't think it's gonna suck.
I don't think it'll suck either.
It might not be everything we hope it'll be, but you'll still come out of it. I think you'll still come out of it feeling like, yeah, that was a good game. It was a good ride.
Yep. All right, next game, Horizon Zero Dawn, my most anticipated game of 2016. So obviously, I'm really freaking excited about it. I will say I have become a little more nervous about it since I made that pick. I don't know why. I know why. It's Guerrilla. Because Guerrilla has never made a game like this before, and it's so ambitious, and it's
they've been locked in Killzone world for, what, a decade?
Yeah, but they had the opportunity to create an open world Killzone. They could have done a bunch of different stuff with that franchise. They never did.
Unless Sony didn't want that. We don't know what the internal makings of that are. But I'm hoping that this game is like, it's like unleashing these guys on this idea they've had and wanted to do.
I mean,
forever,
look, they're technically proficient beyond a shadow of a doubt. It's just the actual game part of it.
Yeah.
And so far, the game, it's not on the Uncharted 4 level where I'm like, I'd be okay buying this just to gawk at it. It's pretty, but...
Although the world is intriguing. Like, that's, it's not Uncharted 4 pretty, but that world, I want to know more about this world with this
Robo-dino...
Robo-biome thing going on, and like, this post-apocalyptic... I mean, it's a lot of cool ideas. That's the thing, it's a bunch of cool ideas, both setting-wise and gameplay-wise. So I'm hoping that this is like... the vindication of Guerrilla in terms of like, if you let us do things other than Killzone, we'll really impress you.
Yeah, I wonder if this game has some kind of a weird twist to it too.
I'm sure.
And if this isn't just like some universe that actually exists, but it's like some other, I don't know.
I think there's more to it than what meets the eye on this. In the same way that I felt like that with what was that game with where it was like a retelling of the Monkey King, and it was Andy Serkis. The guys who did Heavenly Sword.
Yeah, and the girl had like psychic powers,
right.
And then you had like Monkey. The other character's named Monkey.
Name was Monkey, and it began with a U.
Someone in the chat will tell us what it is.
It began with a U. It also began with a U.
I know the game you're talking about.
Yeah.
Though,
so they were. I keep getting reminded of that for some reason, like that kind of like post-apocalyptic, but like society has sort of recovered a little bit, but then
scrapped together little pieces of technology.
But then at the end, it was like the whole thing where it was like, holy shit, there's like full motion video of Andy Serkis, because it's like that was the big twist or something. And so I'm kind of expecting Horizon Zero Dawn to have some sort of secret at the center of it.
Yeah.
In there, but who knows? Game's
looking awesome. Here's the other thing. I'm really starting to wonder if it's going to come out this year.
I think it will. I'm gonna guess this is their September-October release.
Yeah.
I think this one's gonna make it.
Really ambitious, and they've only shown us like that same slice of gameplay over and over again.
Yeah, but I mean, we'll see if they show more this E3. If they show a nice big new chunk at E3, I will feel better about it.
If it gets delayed, remember this episode of GameFace, where I said that I didn't think it was gonna make it. All right, the next game.
Talk
Enslaved, that's it.
What it was.
Odyssey to the West or
Yes.
whatever, yeah.
Yes.
So the next game we're going to talk about, speaking of games that may not come out, The Last Guardian.
This one better come out. I mean,
It's got to.
if it doesn't come out, it's like you never are going to recover from that. It's just like you're never going to live down the time you finally said this game was coming out in 2016 and it didn't.
I've said that so many times already. So actually, I never said it with as much conviction as I said it last December. So
Like at this point, it's like, look, if this game doesn't come out this year, just give it to the gold members for free.
Yeah.
At this point, like just give up. You're done. Like get this game out there.
seriously,
Yeah.
I mean the thing about the game is
Now,
that it's
get
really
this game out there so Team Eco can make something else.
yeah. It's actually starting to look a lot like a puzzle game, which kind of makes sense, if you look at Eco,
Yeah.
which really was a puzzle game ultimately.
Well, I'm wondering if it's like a mix of the two. I'm wondering if it's like there's like puzzles like Eco, but then like there's maybe a section we haven't seen where you like use the bird cat thing to fight other large monsters in the world. Like I wonder if this thing's much bigger than we think. Because right now it looks like Eco with a giant bird dog.
Yeah.
But I wonder if there's more to, like way more to this than we think.
Here's the other thing. This game has been in development for so long, it could be the biggest game ever made. It could seriously be like 100 hours long.
But internally, you probably like me, you probably think it's gonna be like 5 hours.
No.
I feel because Eco is about that long.
I know. But imagine if this game was 5 hours long, Matt. After all that time.
This is all you wrote?
Think about it. It's impossible. It couldn't be.
It's possible.
I don't think it's possible, man.
It's possible.
I just don't want to believe it.
I don't either.
I refuse to believe
but
it.
there's part of me that I'm just like, oh, I feel like this thing's gonna hit, and people are like, there's like those little conversations you have with other game journalists and stuff, where all of a sudden somebody's gonna text someone or call someone, and he's like, I just finished The Last Guardian, and I started it 5 hours ago.
At noon, yeah.
I started it at noon, and I'm done before I'm going home. What the hell? And
That would be the biggest travesty in the history of video games.
that would be like one of those. It's like I've never had a review where I had to write it, and I felt like bad that I had to tell someone something, that I had to tell the public that I'm sorry. It all
I
went
have.
wrong.
I've had several games
And,
like that. Ninja Gaiden 3 is one of them.
Oh yeah.
I still can't believe how bad that game was.
That was a masterclass in wrong decision making.
It sure was, yeah.
But Last Guardian, there's part of me that just worries like this. They must have started over so many times that I feel like I don't know if the scope of this project is beyond your usual 8-hour game.
It has to be, Matt. It has to be.
I want to believe in the spirit of this week and the return of things long lost.
Yeah.
Long lost since 2002.
It's insane. I mean, think about that. How would that guy keep his job if he worked on a game that long and it ended up being like a handful of hours? The scope of it just can't be. Just the fact that you've seen
pay him for 11 years to put nothing out. So
Yeah.
anything's possible.
It's true. All right, let's move on to the next game, Dreams. Media Molecules, new game. Obviously, the creators of Little Big Planet. They've been doing a ton of live streaming of this game. They had Naughty Dog come in and play it, and they have all these developers coming in and just trying to show how easy it is to create things in this game. Basically, you can create anything you want just using the Move controller, which just saying the words "use the Move controller" seems a little weird in today's day and age.
I'm
Although
gonna have to find my Move controller.
it's getting a bit of a resurgence now with PlayStation VR, but this game's tracking pretty low for me, Matt, I gotta say.
Yeah, I don't really.
I don't even know if it's a
quite get
game,
what
is it?
Yeah, I think it feels more like a toy to me.
Yeah.
And I like the look of it, and it's cool. But it's.
Is there an objective in the game? Or is it to just exist or create existence?
I don't know. I mean, it's like Little Big Planet kind of had that thing where it's like, yeah, there was a campaign or whatever, but there wasn't really a point.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's what.
Each other.
And honestly, I think that's what caused Little Big Planet to become less popular with each successive entry. The first one, people were all over it. They kind of realized what it was, and then each release after that, interest waned, sales waned.
I forget there was a Little Big Planet 3.
Yeah,
sometimes.
And then Little Big Planet Vita, and yeah, I mean, they ran that series. They didn't need to make that many Little Big Planet games.
Probably not.
They should have made one for each platform. One for PlayStation 3, and you just keep putting out the tools for it. One for PlayStation 4, keep putting out tools for it.
Yeah, I can't tell what this really is quite yet, and I want to be interested. I want to like.
I don't even know if the developers know what it is, because you sit and you watch them talk about it, and they're just kind of like, yeah, it's just this. It allows your consciousness to just expel itself onto the screen. You're just like, what are you talking about, man? Like,
I love David Lynch and all, but I don't know if you need the game out of it. But I love the Media Molecule guys, and I think I want to support them, but I just don't quite get what they're selling.
I love their vision. I don't necessarily always love their results. Maybe is the best way to put it.
Yeah.
So that's Dreams. Street Fighter V.
I'm all about this one.
Oh, yeah, we both are. I still can't believe it's a PlayStation exclusive. It did come out that's one thing that we did not talk about in the first topic of the Big Six. It did come out that they say the reason that it's PlayStation exclusive is because they want the community to be united. Mm-hmm. So that there's like one measuring stick. So you don't have like the best player on Xbox 360 and the best player on PS3. You just have the best Street Fighter V player.
Yeah, well, it's also why it's cross-play with PC.
Yeah.
And, it does make sense because if you split the platforms like that, you're going to run into the problem of, like, I think they're probably telling the truth because you run into the problem of, like, which system do you use for tournaments?
Right.
And then they haven't yet to crack the whole, like, multi-platform fighting stick thing. So everybody's got to bring either the everybody's got to bring the right stick.
Yeah.
It's probably simpler to say, okay, we're just going PS4. PS4 has a large presence in Japan anyway, and Asia in general.
PlayStation 4 controllers now work on the PC.
Yeah, you can cross-play all that stuff. So
fighting sticks, though, I wonder if they'll work on PC.
My fighting sticks work on PC.
Do they?
All my Mad Cat stuff works, and Hori stuff both work on just plug and play. Not the PS. I don't know.
I've never played a fighting game on the PC in my entire life.
I played Ultra
Never
Street Fighter
once
4 when it came out last year, and Guilty Gear Xrd or whatever the hell that was. I got that on Steam a while ago, and I played some. And of course, it's the only place to play like Neo Geo stuff, like some of those like collections you can get, and all that stuff. It's it's the best place to play them because you can tweak stuff. So yeah, like you just plug in the tournament edition stick and it works fine. So I think what they're doing in that regard is smart. Just trying to unify the platforms, make it so all you got to do is drag the PlayStation 4 out and everybody can set it up. And the PlayStation 4 is much friendlier about playing without an internet connection than the Xbox One is.
Yeah.
So I can see that also just being simpler.
Game looks awesome.
Game looks great.
I have no reservations about the game whatsoever. They did just show off like the story trailer this week.
Yeah.
The story mode's not coming till June.
4 months after.
Which is a little weird.
Well, I understand why they're doing it.
Why?
Well, because it's not ready yet, so it's either that or delay it, and you can't delay it because otherwise it won't come out early enough to make it into the EVO season.
But isn't it weird to decide later on to do the story mode? Like, shouldn't that have been a part of the design doc from like the outset?
It may have been, but they may have had some problems with it. It's far more important to get the gameplay down, the balance down, get it out there.
Let's be honest.
Get people playing it, get into the tournament season, and be at EVO. It has to be at EVO in June.
Well, and let's be honest, the story mode's probably going to be pretty lame. Like, most story modes in fighting games are stupid. And
I love Street Fighter. I've been playing Street Fighter. I mean, I played the original Street Fighter. I've been playing Street Fighter religiously
since the beginning,
since 1991, when Street Fighter 2 came out.
Yeah.
And I've seen every single anime or movie or whatever Street Fighter thing that's been put out. I've seen it all, and it's all terrible.
It really is.
It's all absolutely. Those characters do not work once you take them out of a 2D plane punching each other in the face. Like, I just don't care. I care in the sense that some of it's hilarious, but and there's been some good fight. The old original Street Fighter anime where Chun-Li beats the living shit out of Vega. That's a great scene where she throws a couch at him. And then
there's great scenes.
But what was that movie about?
But as a whole,
I have no idea.
Exactly,
I have no idea what happened in that. I don't know what the story was. The Street Fighter Alpha and the Street Fighter V, where in the first episode Ryu visits Ken and Ken tells him he's going to show him the real San Francisco, and I couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah.
Turns out he meant let's go to a dive bar and beat up a bunch of people.
Yeah, that's the real San Francisco.
Like, I grew up in San Francisco, and I think you're talking about the other thing.
Yeah.
But in general, like, the stories are ridiculous.
Yeah.
But there is going to be, I think I saw there was going to be like 2D art version of the story mode when it launches. So if you absolutely have to play a story mode in Street Fighter V, there'll be something for you there.
Game's going to be awesome. I have every confidence it's going to be a great fighting game.
Yeah, they got
the
some good
fighting
stuff in
game
there.
from the year.
And I'm sad to see 4 go. But
It had a good run.
it had a good run.
A really good run. And a really long run.
It brought the genre back.
It did,
in ways that no one could have ever imagined.
Well, I think that and MK as well.
Yeah.
MK's done a really good job with its last handful of installments. So
MK came, but like Street Fighter 4 just. Like, I hadn't seen anything like that in almost 15 years.
yeah, I remember when I was working at Game Trailers, just everybody working there, like any spare moment they had, it was just
that
people
early
fighting.
build, that like early like preview build they sent. Like I remember it was the early, what was that, beginning of 2009?
Yeah.
And like it was when that was an X-Play, it was daily. You know, every day
Yeah.
we shot.
It was a problem at
And
GT.
yeah, like we actually had to stop. We had to
Yeah.
take the disc away. at
As
one
like
point.
the boss man, I had to kind of be the jerk and tell people to like stop playing sometimes, and I felt bad, but it's like
I was the one
people
who-
loved it so much.
I was the one who was supposed to do that, and I'd be like, all right, we gotta shut this down after I beat all of you.
Yeah.
It was just.
See, I couldn't play because I knew that I was setting the bad example, and if
Mm-hmm.
I played, then like it was hard for me to tell them to stop playing. So I would like not play until like work was over. But it was one of those games that people stayed after work. It's like we worked long hours there.
Yeah.
We quit work at like 7:30 or 8 o'clock, and we'd finish work 8 until like 9:30 or 10. Everyone's staying after work to play it. So.
Mm-hmm.
I see the same thing happening with Street Fighter V. I'm really excited for it. It's all gravy.
No-brainer.
The next game, Ratchet and Clank. The game based upon the movie, based upon the game.
Yeah.
Exactly. That's how I feel about it. Like,
I'm sure it'll be good. It's Ratchet and Clank.
it's the first Ratchet and Clank.
And the one thing I do like about it, and this is true of the movie as well, is Ratchet isn't a complete dick in this one,
Yeah.
which he was in the original
He
game.
was,
He
yeah.
was mean to Clank. He was weird about the whole thing. He was just kind of a jerk the whole time.
Right.
And in this one, like he's actually he's interested in Clank. He's nice to him. He's more interested in having like an adventure at the beginning and sees Clank as sort of the way into that.
Yeah.
But like he's not. You know, he's
not a douche.
He's really unlikable in the original
He is,
game,
yeah.
and they've softened that a lot in the movie and in this, and I think that's a good move because even just watching like the early, that the footage they put out of the early part of the game, I'm like, wow, I like this a lot better than the original.
This is another game that looks absolutely
Oh, it's
jaw-dropping.
incredible looking.
Yeah, I mean, it's Insomniac.
And it'll be great to play the original Ratchet and Clank story with enhancements, but with the controls figured out. Because
Yeah.
remember, it took them a game. It wasn't until the second game that they really figured out, this game's kind of more of a shooter than a platformer.
Yeah.
And it was if you go back to play the original one on the PS2 one, they fixed it for the HD collection as well.
Right.
But you play the original game on PS2, and you're like, wow, this is not built.
Well, here's
to
the thing. Those
function
guys
that
were
way.
huge platforming fans. Like, I was lucky enough to go to Insomniac when they debuted the very first Ratchet and Clank. Like, they invited, I think it was like 15 or 20 journalists. And I remember when we got there, we were kind of waiting to go into, like, the big conference room for the demo. And they put us in this, like, little gameplay room or whatever. And literally, the whole room was just N64s and TVs with Banjo, Kazooie, Tooie, Mario 64, just all those classic
Rocket
platformers.
Robot on Wheels.
Yep, it was there. And they literally would just sit there and play these great platformers. And then I'm sitting there looking at all this, I'm like, are they making a platformer? I mean, they had already worked on them in prior years, and then sure enough, you go into the room and they show us the Ratchet and Clank for the very first time. And talked about in the interview that I did with them about how they were inspired by the N64 platformers and all that. So I understand why the first game went that way, but you're right. Over time, they realized, well,
Yeah, we should.
it's hard to
make this
outfox
easier
the
to
fox.
shoot.
Yeah.
And by going commando, they pretty much had it nailed down.
Yeah, pretty much. So I would only say I'm moderately excited for this game. I think it is coming kind of in the summertime, which is a bit of a lull, so maybe I'll have time to play it, but I probably wouldn't find myself setting aside time or eschewing other games to play it.
Yeah, I will definitely see the movie when ready.
Really?
Yeah,
Well, one way or another, sure. I wouldn't go see it in the theater.
I'll go see it. But the guy who wrote it is a friend of mine.
Ah,
so
well, there you go.
I'm gonna go see it, support him because I think he would like it to do well.
I'll wait and stream that sucker. No offense
But
to your
again,
friend.
he is the guy who wrote a lot of the games too. I mean, it's not like they went out and got some big time Hollywood. Well, he is kind of a big time Hollywood screenwriter now, but
Right.
he wasn't when he wrote the games. And they went to the guy who knows those characters best and said, "Please write this for us," and he did. And so I'm going to reward that kind of
With your $15.
With my $15, if not 17, because we live in LA.
It could be 3D 20 or whatever.
3D IMAX. Yeah, we'll go to Chinese theater and see it in 3D IMAX.
Yeah. All right, so let's move along. Here's a lesser-known game that people may not realize is coming out this year.
I don't know what this is.
Let It Die. Suda51's game.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. I keep forgetting that. It exists.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, a lot of people have totally forgotten that this game exists. It was announced, I believe, two E3s ago.
Yeah. That really, like, uncomfortable trailer.
Yeah, we're watching it right now, actually. It's... I mean...
That's a lot of chromatic aberration there, boys.
Yeah.
I don't know if we need that. Bloodborne was enough for about a year.
This looks like one of those games that's going to get parents all pissed off.
If anyone knows, see, that's the thing is, I get Suda51, so it's like, will it sell enough copies for anyone to even notice?
Has any of Suda's games ever sold enough copies for anyone to notice?
No.
I mean, the guy keeps getting work.
There's some nasty stuff in all his games. Really, it goes some dark places, but no one ever notices.
Mad World. I mean, Mad World did actually have a little bit of uproar over it. There were some parent groups that
it was on the kid-friendly platform.
Yeah.
So yeah, I got some attention there.
But this game, I mean, Suda doesn't do anything worse than some of the stuff Rockstar's done.
No.
I mean, Manhunt is probably the worst of it all, but this does give me a Manhunt vibe.
Yeah, but
big time.
But yeah, I mean, we'll see what who knows? With Suda, it could be. We very well could be seeing. Once we actually get a better look at this, it could be just complete wacky nonsense.
It appears to be a torture simulation of sorts.
Yeah, I mean, that is some believable Morningstar physics they've got going on there. But I don't know. I mean, I need to see kind of what you're doing more.
Yeah, his games tend to be all style and very little substance.
And the dude, I would assume the dude needs a hit at some point.
Oh, he does, yeah.
Because Dark Dreams Don't Die didn't seem to do what they were hoping it was going to do.
Was that a Suda game? I don't think it was.
No?
No, that wasn't Suda51.
Who was that? Oh, that was Swery. That was Swery. Yeah. They
Suda did like No More Heroes, Killer 7.
Yeah. No, they're very similar to me in my head, not just because they start with S.
Right.
But, they both kind of do those like, wow, these games are super weird and unique. How do you keep getting work? Because none of them ever sell.
Well, then you play them, and they're not all that great to play. It's like I said, they rely a lot on style over substance, and that'll get you through a few hours of playing.
So what was Suda's last major Lollipop Chainsaw?
That's it, yeah. Or wait, did he even work on that? That was like a co-production.
There was a lot of things.
With Mikami, right?
And James Gunn was involved.
Yeah. His own game, it's been a while.
Yeah.
And for good reason.
Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah. He's been a long time since he's had a hit. I don't know if he's ever had a real legitimate hit.
I guess No More Heroes would be the closest.
I mean, that's the best-selling one. I mean, he makes games that people talk about and get press, but as far as actually selling well or getting really high reviews, not so much. Next up, Hellblade.
There's Ninja Theory.
Ninja Theory's indie AAA game.
Indie AAA Celtic
it's
mythos.
Like an oxymoron, indie AAA. So they've self-financed this. There's no publisher. And it does look like a AAA game.
It does.
Psychology is a big part of it. Apparently the girl battles some kind of psychotic disorder.
Yeah, she's got mental disorders, and like they've got an actual like psychiatry organization like on the team. The team is like consulting or something.
Yeah.
Like, and there's a really cool.
This is another game where I'm just like, what the hell is going on in this game?
Yeah, I don't know, but there's a lot of stuff with like seeing faces in things, and I don't think this is the same trailer I'm thinking of, but there's one like where like faces kind of appear in like the branches of like the space between trees sort of forms faces that talk to her, and there's one shot where like it kind of like pans past like over a path like a there's Enslaved again. Over a path, and you just see one of those faces off in the distance, sort of looking at you, and I'm just like, "Oh, that's creepy." As hell. Like, I'm like that's gonna freak me out if I pan the camera and there's just shit looking at me.
I love the aesthetics of it so far. What I've seen of it, I like the idea of a game that really concentrates on mental health because that really never happens. I think Darkest Dungeon. Have you played that yet, Matt?
I was playing that before I came over here.
That game actually kind of touches on some of that stuff.
Bit, yeah.
Like some of your characters come back from battle and they're like, "Dude, like I have like PTSD."
Yeah.
Like Because it's so funny. I mean, you think about video games.
I had one guy come back from we had a bunch of fights with bandits, and he came back, and after he got back, he had, you had little things like, whatever, has developed a disorder, and his disorder is he hates people now.
That's not a disorder.
Like,
that's called living in America.
But yeah, they really play up the Lovecraftian kind of like you're going crazy by looking at the things you're fighting thing in that game, and you're like, yeah, it's pretty cool.
Yeah. And that game's really hard as well. Darkest
yeah.
Dungeon. That's really I've played it for like a couple hours, and I was like, I don't think I have time for this right now. Like,
no, it's a serious game for seriously masochistic people at times.
But it does touch on like the mental health aspect of it. Like you never think about when you're playing video games that what you're doing. And how it would impact you mentally if you were actually that character. Or in a game like that where you're sending out people to do things for you, to fight for you in a dungeon, like, what would that do to somebody?
I think about it once in a while. I think about it when I played XCOM.
Yeah.
Because like anytime anything bad would happen to those soldiers, I'm just like,
Well, it's the same deal. XCOM has permadeath, so does Darkest Dungeon. Which it's always that weird like dichotomy of, do you build a bond? Do you not build a bond? What I found with those games is like when I first started playing them, like I care about each person, and like I name each one and I customize each one. By the end of the game, like I don't know who anybody is anymore. I don't care anything about them. I'm just like, you're gonna die anyway, so why should I get attached to you?
And that's how corporations work.
Yeah. Touche. All right, so let's move on to the last game we're going to talk about, and this goes to what I was saying a little earlier about how we thought this year for PlayStation 4 was just like this dominant, like, mind-blowing year for exclusives, but here we are at the end, and that last game is Wild, which I have a feeling is probably going to end up being released for other platforms anyway.
Yeah, like a timed thing.
Yeah, I mean, a game of this ambitious, I find it hard to believe that it will be...
Well, that's the new thing you stick on the boxes is console premiere.
Right. Yeah. So this game's from Michel Ancel, the creator of Rayman, creator of lots of things. He's obviously a savant in some ways as far as video game developers are concerned. Open world, play as nature, be one with nature type game. Certainly has its own vibe and its own sort of ideas.
Although whoever made Far Cry Primal seems to have been looking over his shoulder.
Yeah, well, he does work with Ubisoft. I'm sure wondering if he's like at this point like, hey. Exactly.
And now there's rumors that you're going to be able to control a hawk to look at stuff in the next Assassin's Creed.
Right. Ubisoft also has that VR game where you literally...
a hawk where you fly.
He flies an eagle.
Hawks are the new towers, apparently.
Birds or whatever, yeah. Because what you can control, is it an owl in Wild?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Or is the owl in Far Cry Primal? I'm getting them all confused. They're all mashed together now. I think this game looks interesting, though. I'm really excited for this game. This might be another... See, he's working on this with, like, a little Splinter team. He doesn't have, like, the usual, squad of, like, 300 people and another 200 marketers and another 50 PR people. He doesn't have the army working on this game as he usually does. So I wouldn't be surprised if this game doesn't make it out this year, although it has been in development for quite a while. Because the first media for this game came out over a year and a half ago, and then we heard nothing about it for like a year or more, and then a new trailer came out a few months ago. So maybe we just don't really know what's going on with development because it's just been so scattershot as far as them releasing information about it. But I'm pretty excited for it. I think it's one of the more unique-looking games. It also has a kind of a Horizon Zero Dawn vibe to it. That whole tribal, aesthetic, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah, it's the year of the Stone Age stuff, it seems like.
Yeah. The year of prehistory, apparently.
Yeah. Prehistory and post-history and post-prehistory.
Yep. So anyway, that wraps up the PS4 preview.
Where the hell is Rhyme?
Yeah, I didn't, you know what? I was putting together a list for this, and I'm like, I'm not even putting it on there.
Till we hear about it again.
Yeah. It's like, and look, we'll talk about it, and at the end we get to indie games. We do an indie roundup, and I didn't put it in there either. It's like my picks for games I wanted to talk about because it's just at this point, where the hell is it?
I don't know.
I mean, it doesn't have an announced release date yet, so there's really no way to know it's coming.
Have they even mentioned it in the last year?
Not really.
That was one of your picks for E3 last year, and they didn't even say the word.
Yep, exactly. So I don't know what's going on with it, but yeah. So, again, initially, I figured, oh my gosh, the PlayStation 4 section is going to have like 25 games or whatever. And look, if you go and start talking about indie stuff, sure. Like, there's a lot of indie games.
Or like multi-platform stuff that's like also on PC.
Yeah, and we're doing that across the board with all these, by the way. Like, indie games, like, we're not talking about a ton of the Xbox One exclusive indie games in the Xbox One section. So we're not just sliding PlayStation here, but... And look, there are like 10 really good indie games coming like exclusively to PlayStation 4, so we don't want to slide it in that way. But as far as big budget AAA games, I was a little surprised at the number. I thought there would be more. So still a great year. It's looking like an awesome year for PlayStation 4, don't get me wrong, but not quite as many as I thought there might be. And with that, let's move on to Xbox One. And this has been kind of the reverse. I'd assumed Xbox One was going to have a really bad year because they had a great year first party-wise last year. And I thought they were going to get the short end of the stick this year, but not really the case.
No, there's some stuff.
Yep. So first we're going to talk about Quantum Break. That game's coming out pretty soon.
Yeah.
Soon-ish. Like
What's
a month
the
and a
date for
half.
that? Like March something?
Yeah, March 20-something. Yeah. It's coming soon.
I'm curious. I still don't really know anything about that game. Like, I'm just like, yeah, it's Remedy, and it's like they're freezing time, and it's sort of bullet time, but it's sort of...
It's like Dreams. When I talk about it, they're so ambiguous and like...
And then there's like live action stuff, but what is that?
How does that work? Do I have to like watch a TV show? See, I hate anything like that. I hate anything where they're like, oh, we're going to tie it into this TV show or this movie. It's like, no, like, I don't want to have to watch some corny-ass TV show to know what's going on in my video game. Like, just...
You're not a big Defiance fan, huh?
No, well, we see how that worked out. Like, that totally shit the bed, basically, for lack of a better phrase. And this might as well. Like, if that's how this works, like...
Yeah, I don't know. I can't tell.
I've never played the game. Mm-hmm. Like, most of the games on this list, at some point or another, I've handled and played. Never played Quantum Break.
Have they done, like, a preview?
I don't know. I mean, not really, where people got to go and play it. People watched them play it. I mean, for a game that's coming out in a month, I've never played it. You've never played it.
It's weird.
It's real weird. Like, what the hell? Like, that's bizarre. I mean, there's a lot.
I'll give them the benefit of the doubt because they made Max Payne and they made Alan Wake, and I like those. I
liked them, but they weren't like set the world on fire games.
No, but...
Like, Max Payne was kind of a one-trick pony.
You don't have to set the world on fire to make me enjoy your 8 hours.
No, definitely not. But, I mean, this game has been hyped to be more than just, like, a filler game. Like, this is kind of Xbox's tentpole game for the first quarter of 2016.
Yeah.
Like, they need this game to sell a couple million copies.
I get a little David Cage off this one. I
mean,
a little Heavy Rainy.
A little maybe, but I mean, it does appear that there's actual gameplay in this, so that would give him this game an advantage over.
But clearly, you're dealing with something that's very story heavy, and like it seems like it's story heavy to the degree that like the story better be good, or you're not going to have a whole lot to hang things on. Yeah. So we'll see.
Yeah,
very soon, apparently.
I'm cautiously optimistic. Is that probably the best way to describe it about this game? I'm interested in the concepts. Like, I love the idea of stopping time and the whole teleportation part of it. And
it's like I am open to being blown away by this game. I mean, I am ready to see what it has for me.
You know what I never really thought about? This kind of is the next evolution of Max Payne, like with bullet time. I never thought about it.
It's very much Max Payne and Alan Wake kind of put together.
Yeah. I don't know why that never resonated with me, that I never realized that until just this moment. When I saw the one shot of him walking by and like plucking a bullet out of midair, and I was like, oh, wait a minute. Like,
I've always thought, this makes a lot of sense.
Sometimes things just go whoosh. That definitely did. So cautiously optimistic on that one. Next up, Gears of War 4. Cliff Bleszinski, not Cliffy B, yesterday did some brief interview with a small gaming website where he said that he had recently spoke with the writer for Gears of War 4 who shared the story and the direction of the game with him, and he was very excited about it, and he feels very invigorated and was very happy to hear the direction the game is taking. I think he's the only one on the planet right now that may be saying that based upon the limited exposure we've had to the game.
Yeah, well, they definitely need a better demo this year at E3.
Yeah, 15 minutes of walking around isn't going to cut it this year at E3 if you're looking for this game to really keep the series alive. Because I think at this point, like, that's kind of where they're at with Gears.
Yeah, you either launch a new trilogy off this one, or it's going to it fades away into the background.
Judgment wasn't a bad game,
but I also forget it happened.
A lot of people do.
That and God of War Ascension.
Yeah,
I forget like both of those games. Both those GOWs. I forget both of those.
That they ever really existed, even though I played both of them.
Yeah.
So, there's a lot riding on this game, I feel, because look, I mean, let's be honest, Gears of War is one of Microsoft's biggest franchises.
Yeah.
I mean, we already saw 343 kind of fumble the ball with Halo 5. Like, as it turns out, Halo 5 didn't sell all that well, Matt. Like, it didn't sell terrible, it didn't tank, but
it didn't Halo.
No, it didn't Halo. That's a good way to put it. And it did not sell consoles.
Yeah.
That's what's most important. It did not move hardware, and that's why you invest all the money in first-party games. That's why you have these studios under your wing, is to move hardware, and Halo 5 didn't do it. Like, I mean, think about it. Look at the exclusives that Microsoft had at the end of 2015 compared to the exclusives that PlayStation had at the end of 2015.
Nothing.
And it did nothing. Like, most people would say it had the better first-party lineup. Nobody cared. Everybody bought a PlayStation 4 still. So
I still think Halo 4 did some damage to that brand.
I agree with you 1,000,000%, man. 1,000,000%. There's no doubt about it. It left a bad taste in people's mouth. It's the same.
I mean, if I didn't have to play it basically to know what I'm talking about on this show, I probably wouldn't have played Halo 5 until later.
Honestly, if I didn't want to play Halo 5 all that much.
I liked it better than 4, but I can understand why a lot of people would be reluctant to dive in at full price.
It was the least excited I've ever been to play a Halo game, I guess is the best way to put it. And I mean, I've enjoyed Halo, on GT, I gave Halo 3 like a 9.7, one of the highest scores I've ever given a game in my life. I loved Halo 3. I thought it was the full package, everything polished, everything that I wanted in a first-person shooter, the Forge, all of it, just amazing. Halo 4, man, it did. That's what it dampened my excitement for that franchise as a whole.
Yeah, and a lot of the problems with 4 were not fixed in 5.
No, you're right.
Not just technically, but in terms of like design wise. I'm just like, you still got me fighting bullet sponges.
They never listened to any of the criticism from Halo 4.
Still got me fighting the same boss 7 times. Like,
it is better. Look, it's better than Halo 4.
It is.
There's no doubt about that. But still, like, a lot of the annoying things, like fighting the same enemies, like, over and over again, and like the whole, like, oh, there's this drone floating over top. You got to take down the drone first before you get. Like, I got tired of that in Halo 4, and I had to do it all over again in Halo 5. So
yeah, the Prometheans are not the greatest idea they've ever had.
Like, I loved the boss that you fought
the first time.
Yeah. Like, he was really freaking cool and scary and intimidating
and really well animated.
Yeah,
there's some really cool design work going on in that guy.
But it was just one.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, you need like 10 more of those. Like.
And again, we've talked about it before. It's just like it was Act 1.
Yeah.
That whole story is one act. Like it's
yeah.
Like that whole story should have happened by Mission 4.
Okay, we're on a Halo tangent when we need to be talking about Gears.
Yeah, Gears.
But it is very similar. It's like new studio working on it.
But at least they have
Rod Ferguson is working on it.
In there, they've and Rod, as we know, is he's a delivery man.
Yeah.
He gets it done.
And that's why they brought him in there. Probably because they weren't delivering on their milestones, I'm guessing.
And I wonder about, there's a lot I have a lot of questions about that game after that demo where it's just like, what's going on? Who are you up against? Where is the world at? How many years has it been? Why is everyone smaller?
Yeah.
Because I mean,
well, I think they're trying to get rid of the whole meathead.
Yeah,
like,
but are they, or
thing.
Is that like a thing? Like, are they going to address that? Is it like in the Gears of War 1 through 3 era where
they all
people
became vegetarians?
Well, no, were they like pumped up on steroids and crazy HGH stuff to make them strong enough to fight the Locust, and now they don't have to do that, so humans look more normal now.
Who knows?
But now that something comes,
it now looks a lot less iconic and a lot more generic.
It does. Like looking at that footage, you'd be like,
you'd never know it was Gears. You never know it, and that's a bad thing in my opinion.
Yeah, people made fun of it, but it was iconic looking. Like you always knew a Gears of War screenshot when it was.
Oh yeah, and I mean part of that was the Unreal Engine because every game
everything has that plasticky sort of thing.
Yeah.
No one has any hair.
Yeah. So I don't know. My hype level for Gears, it's there. Like it, I haven't played the Halo 4 of Gears of War yet.
Right.
So I still have, hope for it.
And this is again, it's a new team.
Yeah.
What's their name?
Well, they started out as like...
It's not Black Tusk anymore.
I don't even remember what they changed it to.
It's like
I don't remember.
Something. It's COG related. It's clearly the studio that will make Gears of War games until they shut them down.
They stop making them.
Like they might as well just call them GOW Studios.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I like Gears of War. I like the stop and pop cover shooting stuff. I know it's like passe to say that now, but I've liked it since.
Well, it did it the best. It does it the best.
It does it the best.
Yeah.
I've liked it since Winback and Killswitch introduced it. Yeah. And Cliff admits that Killswitch was an influence on Gears of War 1.
Well, you can't deny it.
Yeah,
It's
right.
like...
And I like Gears of War. I mean, I still think Gears of War 1 is the best one. I think it's oddly, maybe would be the word, that's an oddly personal game.
Yeah.
And
Gears 2 for me, I think, is the best one. The Gears 1 made the biggest impression on me.
Multiplayer-wise, Gears 2.
Gotcha.
Multiplayer-wise, Gears 2. Gears 1, to me, single player was just because like the aesthetic was new and that destroyed beauty thing was like a new, and it was still in that era where Unreal 3, we hadn't gotten tired of the shortcomings yet, so it was still kind of that holy shit, a game looks like this now.
Yeah. And the whole chainsaw ban. I mean,
the chainsaw
like I said,
thing,
the impact-wise, the first one, obviously, because it was just like, holy wow.
And because, and I think some of that got explained by Cliff last year when he talked about, on Twitter, he kind of went through how, it was a very, he exercised a lot of personal demons in that game from his personal life and in general, and I think it comes through in that game that is a very... not to get like tortured poet about it, but it's like whoever's telling you this, whoever's serving this game up to you, the first Gears of War, seen some shit.
Yeah, for sure.
And and they built off that in 2 and 3, but 1 is the one that really feels like. Not to get super pretentious, because it is the week The Witness came out, so it's okay to get pretentious a little bit, I think. If you've read any of those reviews, woo!
Well, here's the thing. The first one has no levity to it. It is just grim and dark.
But the first Gears of War is where I felt like an artist was speaking to me.
Yeah.
Whereas 2 and 3 build off of it, but also they kind of know that they're ridiculous.
Well, there's a lot more wisecracking.
Wisecracking, it's a giant worm,
Yeah, exactly.
that stuff. And
the first one was a lot more serious.
Yeah, the first one was like we were watching the end of humanity.
I hope the new one is like the first one and is more serious and doesn't get hammered up as much as the last year.
I mean, there's a desperation to 1 that the other 2 don't have.
Yeah.
Even Judgment, which takes place around the same time as 1 or before it, doesn't have.
No, you're right. Absolutely right.
Like Gears of War 1, I play Gears of War 1, I don't feel like we're gonna win. Like you
feel hopeless.
Yeah, even if you succeed in whatever Marcus and them are trying to do, like it's not gonna matter. It's gonna like delay humanity's extinction for like a year.
Maybe
if you're lucky.
Yeah.
So
or it's gonna save a city.
Yeah. So I'm like, so that's why like I kind of hope they bring it back to that and remember the roots. And I'm sure Rod knows that.
Yeah. Well, I hope so. We'll see. Moving on, Crackdown 3. We talked about this very briefly earlier. I've said this before. I am not a big Crackdown fan. I
loved Crackdown 1.
I remember when I worked with you at G4.
Did not like Crackdown 2.
I remember I worked with you at G4. Like you and Kevin Pereira and a couple other people just loved that game, and I literally played it for like 2 hours, and I was like, I don't want to play anymore.
I don't want any more orbs.
I just didn't care. I didn't like the universe. I didn't like the gameplay. I hated the floaty, like super jumping, like. It just, to me, it honestly felt like a jank fest.
Skills for kills.
And I was like, I can go collect stuff in any game.
I liked it if I got it, like I got in my car and it got better depending on how high my level was. Like it was. I mean, Crackdown is so dumb.
It is.
It is so dumb.
It really
but it's
is.
just like it's just pure fun. Like I loved it, especially because like at the time there wasn't any kind of open world superhero stuff happening.
Yeah.
And like the ability to jump around and do those like huge, crazy super jumps and climb up buildings like that. There just wasn't anything else like that at the time, and I loved it. I just loved it. And yeah, like the strongholds you had to take out were like super dumb and simple, and like you were super overpowered. There was no challenge to it whatsoever. But I loved every damn minute. And then Crackdown 2 came out, and I was like, what happened?
Yeah.
Like, it just didn't work the same way. I don't know.
It was the same game. I think everyone had just burned out on it at that point.
I don't agree with that. Because I specifically remember being in a co-op game on the review copy of that, and it was like me and Dembski, the writer on the show, Mike Dembski, the writer on the show, and like Morgan. We were all in there. We were standing around like tormenting a bunch of criminals or something. And it was just this moment where we're all like, is this not as fun as the other one? Like, does anyone feel like this isn't as fun? And it was like, yeah. Like, what's up? Like, why isn't this as good? And I still don't quite know.
Because you were mesmerized by the first one. You should have liked the first one.
But that's not true, because I went back and played the first one again, and I still liked it.
Really?
Yeah.
I've never liked this series.
Something different about
that.
I
honestly could care less about this game. I really don't care if it ever... They could cancel it, and I wouldn't care at all.
I hope it's super good.
I mean, look, I always want to play new games.
I hope 2 was a fluke, and they figured it out again. I don't remember who's making this.
I think it's a different studio that made the other ones.
I think so, yeah. But I just hope... I hope they figure out what made 1 work and 2 didn't work, and they make it more like 1, and maybe give you a little more to do, because I think it, like when I think about how like sometimes like the Just Cause games don't quite have enough to fill the size of their map.
Yeah.
That reminds me of Crackdown a little bit, in the sense it's like, yeah, it's cool what I do, but you need to come up with like 3 or 4 more things for me to do, and so I hope they get there with that, and I hope it's.
I don't care.
It lives up.
I don't care. It could go away. I would not shed a tear.
You want to talk about don't care? Let's move on to the next one.
I do care about this one, though. Fable Legends.
I don't have a lot of confidence in this one. I like the idea.
Well, it's another game that's been delayed like 5 times.
Yeah.
I'm even wondering if it'll even make it out this year.
What is this? People are complaining about a mic wire.
A mic wire?
Some kind of like staticky or like loose mic wire someone's complaining about? On you, I think?
On me?
Yeah. Is there anything? You're hearing anything?
Sam, you hearing anything?
I heard a little hum a little bit ago, but nothing consistent.
Well, everything seems to be plugged in okay.
I'm not sure. There's like sub-level... It's like, veterans that are saying it, so I thought it might be worth bringing up.
For sure.
Oh, well.
So, asymmetrical gameplay, like you can basically play as like the bad guy.
Yeah, it's like 4 players
instructing the minions.
Good guys, and then 1 player is the villain, basically.
I will only want to play as the villain, I think, in this game.
Probably. I mean, a lot of board games work that way now. Like, there's a lot of board games you can get, like Descent and Star Wars Imperial Assault. There's a lot of board games that do that thing where 1 player is sort of the dungeon master, but like specifically set against the players. And it's a really cool dynamic. And if they can pull it off in this game, I think it'll be like a really special thing. I'm not entirely convinced they could pull it off properly in a free-to-play environment, because I feel like you're going to hit some paywalls that are ugly.
Well, they have to make money off of it somehow, and the game's been in development for like 4 years or longer. So, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if there are some nefarious free-to-play practices at work with this game. But I love the concept, the idea behind the game. I would just want to play like the bad guy all the time, just trying to take down like my 4 friends. That sounds like more fun to me than actually being like the people playing the game. But they've consistently put out media for this game. It hasn't gone away. Like once every couple of months, they'll put out a new trailer. They've been putting out these like character profiles over the last few months.
I do like the characters.
I do too. I like the art. The game looks great. Like technically, even a lot of times when you have a game that's been in development this long, it ends up getting lapped technologically. But the game still looks up to scratch to me with all the other Xbox One games. It doesn't look like it's old or a game that's been delayed a ton of times. It is Lionhead. You can either laugh at that, or you can say it with reverence, because, they have done some good stuff. They've also done some really disappointing stuff. And so, I don't know. This is a hard game to judge. But I will say I am excited for it. And, I'm just like everybody else. I've been disappointed by Fable as many times as I've had a good time with it. So, obviously Molyneux's not there anymore. That adds a kind of a different angle to it.
I have never gotten the impression that Molyneux was particularly involved in the Fable games.
Really?
No.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know about that.
Well, they came from Big Blue Box in the first place, which were basically brought in to save it.
Yeah.
And then, Yeah, he was always working on like stuff like Milo and Kate and all those like weird side projects.
He was always busy talking.
He was. I mean, he's the face of it. He's the guy who would go on the PR journey. But I don't know if he was all that invested in the day-to-day kind of like nitty-gritty of how they work thing. He's more of a big picture.
Well, I think the first one he was certainly. The first one was like his game.
Well, the first one came from Big Blue Box.
Right, but
and like then
that was all his concept and his dream.
The Lionhead had to save it. Basically.
Right. Well, basically, he just oversold his development team and put these things out there that were never going to be possible
and oversold
feasible.
the hardware at the time.
Exactly.
He just couldn't do it.
He wrote checks with his mouth that his ass couldn't cash. Essentially, is what it was.
And they never. I mean, there's still every once in a while a reference in some of those Fable games to like the plant the acorn and grow the oak tree thing, but they never quite got there.
That's funny that never even happened, even on Xbox 360. And here we are at Xbox One. Like, now we are actually at a place where maybe they can make that happen. Maybe they should remaster or recreate the first Fable and make it what it was supposed to be from the beginning.
I would like to see a real legit Fable tried again. It would be interesting.
Because the technology is probably there at this point where you could do a lot, not all of it, and think about that.
Yeah.
Even now, you still couldn't do a lot of the stuff that he had promised back then.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But you remember when it was like, it's like, oh, kids will cut their hair like your character.
Yeah,
Even that never really happened.
No. I mean, you did kind of get the whole everybody in the environment does respond to things that you did and will react to you, but all that really means is like, oh, you killed this guy. Now someone, when you walk by him, says, hey, you killed that guy.
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, it seems like it doesn't, you go back and play like Fable 2, which I still enjoy Fable 2 very much. But like,
I even like Fable 3.
Nothing. Oh, I mean, Fable 3 was a step back to me, but like I still enjoyed it. The only Fable I really legitimately don't like is the Kinect game.
Yeah.
I don't think anybody.
Understandably, yeah. All right, let's move on. Cuphead. Here's an example where we did kind of slide an indie game in here a little bit. This game, press is all over this game.
Well, because look at it.
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, it looks awesome. It's really freaking hard. Like, really freaking hard. I mean, you can tell just by watching this footage how hard it is.
This looks like something you would have had to import for the Saturn.
Yeah.
Like it's I mean, it's amazing that like it's one of those games where you're like, wow, this is going to get made, huh?
It's hard to believe it's a game.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, like...
It's really, really pretty. And like an animation art style that is like borderline forgotten.
It's just hard to believe that is like interactive, that you're controlling that.
You ever look at that and think like, what if Epic Mickey was just that?
Oh, I know. It would be awesome. It would be way better than what it ended up being. That's for damn sure. But this game, the press is all over it. It won some Best of E3 awards. In fact, it did so well at E3 that they basically ended up delaying it to make it, I think, to make it as good as everybody thinks it is. So I think what happened is they came out at E3 and they're like,
we better make this game as good as the art.
No, they're like, people are saying this game is like way better than it really is. Like, we need to make sure it ends up living up to this pedigree because now it has the opportunity to really do something and become something big. So, they ended up giving them plenty of time. The game is an Xbox One exclusive, which is kind of crazy. I don't know if that's
is it like exclusive or like timed?
I think as of right now, it still is an exclusive. Like,
really?
Well, remember, I can't remember, was it Gamescom or whatever? Like, that was a big part of their presentation. They came out on stage, and the Cuphead guys were out there and did a demo of it or whatever.
Like a Windows version, maybe? I don't know. I feel like it
I think right now it's just Xbox One. Obviously, I would not be surprised at all if it becomes a Windows game as well, because that's pretty much the way everything goes. Gears of War 4, I'm sure, is eventually going to be a Windows game as well. So, but yeah, it's the indie darling right now, I guess is the best way to put it. As of right now, an exclusive to Xbox One. We did kind of cheat there a little bit and give Xbox One an indie game when we could have done that for PlayStation 4. But so anyway, next game, Recore. Another game I would be really surprised if it made it out this year.
Yeah, well, yeah, especially with the Mighty Number 9.
It's an Inafune game. There are developers working on this game who worked on Metroid Prime. That makes me excited.
That's good.
That's a really good thing. And hopefully they're the ones who are actually handling everything. Because if you remember, Metroid Prime, when those games were being made, it was also kind of the same deal. Like, they had like the figurehead from Japan who would come over and live with them for a while and work on the game for a couple months, go back to Japan, do his thing in Japan for a little while, come back at milestones to see how they're doing.
Like, wrong, do it again.
Exactly, and that's kind of what's going on with ReCore. You know, you have this team of people who are building the game, and then Inafune popping in here and there to help them work on it. So, certainly one of the more unique games for Xbox One. I think Xbox One could use a lot more games like this, because I do feel a lot of Xbox One games are pretty much the same games we got with Xbox 360. It's like, here's another Fable, here's another Forza, here's another Gears. Like,
I'm still irritated that they canceled Phantom Dust.
Yeah, well, actually now they're saying that it may not be dead. They like revived the trademark and everything for it, so there's a faint chance it might still be alive. But yeah, I mean, Xbox needs a lot more games like ReCore. Even if the game ends up being terrible or whatever, like they
At least you
need
tried.
They need more games with different themes.
They need more Ori in the Blind Forests.
Yeah, and they need new IP. Like,
Yeah.
they need new ideas and new concepts and new franchises that they can turn into mega hits. So, I'm all for this game. Hopefully it turns out to look as good as, like, this initial trailer has kind of played out. It's been getting a lot of hype. It feels like this game's kind of caught in between indie and big budget.
Yeah. It also feels like it's like they don't really quite know when we're going to see this yet.
I mean, right now it is announced for 2016. I said when we first started talking about it, I would not be surprised if it doesn't make it this year.
Yeah.
So we'll see. The last game we're going to talk about for the Xbox One 2016 preview, Sea of Thieves. Rare's,
The rare game that Rare's been wanting to make forever, apparently.
Rare's open world pirate MMO kind of thing.
Not a lot of info about this one yet.
No, I mean, they put out this trailer. Rare's been spending a lot of time like showing off its old games lately.
Yeah.
Like, they've been putting out old vault footage of like Banjo-Kazooie when it was like Dreams for like the Super Nintendo, and like,
If you're not preparing me for Banjo 3, don't
don't talk
Don't
about
do
that
that.
stuff. Yeah.
Don't tease me.
Well, I mean, we're kind of getting that with Yooka-Laylee anyway, since most of those people
Yeah.
kind of left Rare at this point anyway. This game, again, kind of like with ReCore, Microsoft needs more of this, like new IPs. I mean, the game, I don't know if it has like mass appeal. I don't know if this is the kind of game that goes on to sell like, 10 million units, so to speak.
Yeah, I don't know. People like pirates.
Do they?
Do they?
I think they like pirates when Johnny Depp's a pirate.
Well, then,
I don't know if they just like general pirates.
Everybody can make a Johnny Depp, and we'll get on the ship.
It seems
I
like
like
a
the
pretty...
art style.
Yeah, I love the art style. I mean, it's Rare. It
Yeah.
looks like a Rare game, which is good in this day and age to see Rare making a game that looks like a Rare game.
Yeah.
Because...
As opposed to the bottom of a Avatar's shoe.
Yeah, the crappy Kinect stuff they've been forced to work on for the last half decade or more. So, technically the game looks like it's back up to Rare scratch. I mean, that's the best looking water I've ever seen in a video game, pretty much hands down. Once upon a time, Rare was pretty much known... Rare was like Naughty Dog before Naughty Dog.
Yeah. Cutting edge on everything.
They used to be the pinnacle of video game graphical development, and, they kind of lapsed from that. It actually really started as soon as Microsoft bought them, oddly enough.
Yeah. Well, they used to make that N64 cry.
Yeah,
Pushing it so hard.
Yeah, I mean, they
A little too hard in
sacrifice frame
places.
rates here and there to make it happen, but
I love Jet Force Gemini.
yeah.
And I don't know if anyone's gone back, because I played a lot of it on Rare Replay last year. I don't know if anyone's gone back and actually plugged that cartridge back in the N64, but I have no idea how I played that game.
Oh, I played it all the way to the end, and I loved every minute of it.
I played it to the end. One of the first things I ever did on, it wasn't even X-Play yet, it was still Extended Play. One of the first things I ever did was one of our producers, Greg Bemis, brought in his Jet Force Gemini cartridge, and he and Sessler brought it in and pointed to and said, beat this boss, because he's like, I've been stuck on this boss for like 4 years, and so it was the dog boss against like the two jumping mantis things.
Yeah.
And I beat it with 1 hit left on the life bar.
That game was hard.
And that was like my almost my audition to be like on that show.
One of the hardest end bosses I've ever played.
Oh, Mizar was crazy. I don't know. Actually, you know what? I think we talked about this before. I don't think I finished that.
I did beat it, finally.
I don't think I had enough homing rockets.
You had to have all of them.
Yeah, I did not. I remember being. I think I'm probably still standing there.
Well, that game was hard as balls.
On that game cartridge save. He's probably standing there.
I finished it, and I was very proud of myself when I did. Again, like, probably the most difficult end boss that I ever beat. As far as, like, a boss that required hand-eye coordination.
Mm-hmm.
Like, look, I don't play the Souls games. I'm guessing maybe some of the last bosses in those games might be more difficult.
I don't know. I never finished Demon's Souls, but I did finish Dark Souls 1, 2, and Bloodborne, and I don't remember anything as hard as me. I finished them.
Yeah.
And I didn't.
You didn't
I
finish
can't beat
Jet Force
Mizar. I
Gemini.
could not beat Mizar.
Yeah.
Whatever the hell his name is.
Yeah, it's tough.
He was Rare. I mean, Rare was hard. Rare did not fuck around.
No, there was like even Donkey Kong 64. There was some parts of that game like I got like 99%, and there was one goal I never was ever able to accomplish. Like just never. I tried it.
Like Blast Core.
Yeah.
I mean, Blast Core is pretty simple to get through.
Right.
But if you want to get golds and stuff, like,
Yeah, but they're all like perfectly tuned. Like it was like the cheats for GoldenEye, where you had the certain requirements that they gave you to was it stars that they gave you in GoldenEye? There's like certain levels for each mission that you can complete, and like the hardest difficulty in those was just devilish, but you could do it. Like there was you could do it. Like it seemed impossible when you first started trying. But the more you played it, you just started to realize like the genius of like how they had just played it a million times and figured out like if you're good enough.
Unlike a lot of games today, they actually tested those time difficulties.
Yeah. So I don't know if there's much of that left at Rare at this point, and I don't think Sea of Thieves, to me, has any of that DNA in it. It doesn't look to have that kind of DNA in it.
I don't want to rip it, but like there's a part of me that's like that looks a lot more like Grabbed by the Ghoulies.
Yeah. It looks like a casual game to me. Maybe that's the best way to put it. It looks like a have fun on the high seas with your pals kind of game, not like a sit down on your couch and grind it out type of game. So we'll see.
At the very least,
look, Rare hasn't made a great game in a really long time. Like, what's the last one? Cameo? Would you even call that great? No.
I would. The last great Rare game, I would say was Jet Force Gemini.
Well, I would say Conquer was a great game.
Was Conquer after that?
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, I'll go with Conquer then.
But otherwise,
not the Microsoft version though.
No, right. The N64 version. Yeah. Because once they went to Xbox 360, the first Perfect Dark was terrible for Xbox 360. All the Grabbed by the Ghoulies.
The Conquer, Grabbed by the Ghoulies was Xbox One, the original Xbox, with then the Conquer Relive and Reloaded, which was more edited for content than the original.
Had better fur shading.
Better fur shading, but more bleeping.
Yeah.
And the frame rate wasn't very good. It didn't really fix the problems of the N64 version, and just sort of introduced more problems.
Yeah. And then Cameo. The Cameo that ended up coming out on Xbox was completely different from the Cameo that was shown on GameCube. So, and I don't know if that was a case where Microsoft made them change it, but it seemed a lot more interesting. Like Cameo on GameCube, she was like a puppeteer inside the creatures. Yeah, you could actually see her inside the creatures, kind of like working them. Yeah. And then in the final game that came out, she just transformed into the creatures.
Them,
So anyway, Rare's glory days. It does bring a tear to my eye a little bit to see what happened.
You remember that only 2 systems ago that was 2 launch titles for the Xbox 360.
Yeah. Yep.
And then they were relegated to Kinect stuff forever.
Well, we'll see. This is their chance. They took the chains off, let them make a real game.
Bring it back.
Again, knowing Rare, by the way, I'd be really surprised if this game comes out this year. So maybe ultimately Xbox One's lineup isn't looking all that good because there's a lot of iffies on there.
Yeah, but maybe they've got a couple things up their sleeve for E3 that might make it this year.
They better.
We don't know about yet.
But so not a terrible year for Xbox One. I mean, if you only have an Xbox One, hopefully they spread out these releases enough throughout the year that you have something to keep you busy.
Yeah.
If not, buy a PlayStation 4. All right, let's move on to Nintendo in 2016. We're going to combine both handheld and Wii U together in this. Obviously, the big elephant in the room is the NX. All kinds of crazy. That's one thing that has happened over the break as well.
Like supposedly,
just insane NX rumors flying all over the place. Like, I don't even know what to believe anymore. I don't believe any of it. GameStop sent out a survey this week asking people if they planned on buying a Nintendo NX this year. Probably the best evidence yet that they might come out this year.
Like I said, It has to be this year.
I don't
No
think.
question.
I still don't think so. I still don't think it'll come out this year. But
I
I would
will.
say that survey is more than any of the other bull crap, like all the parts suppliers and all that. That to me is the most concrete evidence that it has a shot to come out this year. We've talked ad nauseum about the NX already. Without any more information, I don't think we need to spend a ton of time talking about it here.
I saw a thread on Gaff that was, what are the biggest mistakes the NX will make? If you think it was like, that's like 3 hypotheticals on top of each other. At this point. It's like there's nothing to talk about yet.
Yeah, there's nothing. Yeah,
Not until they say something.
yeah, and there's rumor again. There's rumor,
Or if like something comes out that is indisputably.
or there's the other
a real
rumor saying we're
leak.
going to find something out in March. I mean, here's the thing: if it's coming out this year, we should hear something in March because that's GDC. And that's where the rumors always start swirling with the Nintendo hardware because they go there, they're trying to get recruiters to work on it. So here's what I would
I
say.
think the rumors are swirling to the right timing right now.
Here's what I would say. If we do not hear anything about it in March and swirling around GDC, I don't think there's any way it's coming out this year. Because you have to go to that show and you have to get those people on board to start working on your hardware. You have to.
Unless Nintendo is so far gone, they don't think they need them anymore.
Or they think their idea is so great that they don't need third-party support. Well, I mean, look, they haven't had third-party support in a long time, really, anyway.
They're used to it.
Yeah, I mean...
We're used to it.
The GameCube was the last time they had really legitimate third-party support. And now that was a long time ago. Which makes me feel really old, Matt.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, though, is like, they got to come up with something that's normal enough as a system that you can just port your stuff to it and not have to make a special Nintendo version of it.
Yeah, exactly.
That was the thing that sank.
But it sure sounds like NX is going to be another one of those, like...
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think we can all agree at this point it's not just going to be an HD console with a controller.
Much
And
as some of us might just want that.
Yeah, I mean, it's just not gonna. And I just don't think Nintendo's ever gonna do that again. I just don't see it. Like, it did it with the GameCube. It got them 20 million sales.
But they still didn't quite do it with the GameCube because they hamstrung it with those tiny discs.
I guess.
Like, that system was powerful.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
the GameCube still looks good.
It
some of that
does,
stuff.
yeah.
Metroid Prime.
I think it was the
still
most
looks
powerful.
great.
I think it was the most capable hardware of that generation.
I think secretly, yes. I think it was definitely the most powerful. If you
Look at like Star Fox Adventures,
Yeah.
dude. That game is amazing.
still looks good.
Yeah.
Metroid Prime, man.
Yeah.
Metroid Prime still look amazing.
I mean, Star Fox Adventures, though, man, that's like
Yeah.
next level shit right there,
That
dude.
was rare. That was rare unleashed on
Remember
that
the
hardware.
Yeah, remember the first shading in that? It looked amazing. It still looks amazing. Like,
Yeah. No,
it was a little-
no better
little-
fur creature in bikini in the GameCube library.
it was a little lunchbox that couldn't,
Yeah.
unfortunately. All right, let's start talking about some of these games. Twilight Princess HD. I think that game's going to sell a ton.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of people who have a Wii U who didn't have a Wii
Yeah.
or just didn't play it.
They didn't like the waggle controls. So
Yeah.
Because that's what I'm interested in. Because I didn't even finish Twilight Princess.
Oh, really?
I got about 2/3 of the way through it, and eventually I'm just like, what am I doing? Like, I didn't like I was tired of that after the first day, basically, and I always regretted not buying the GameCube version, which was flipped. The Wii version was flipped because
Right.
Link's left-handed.
Yep.
And I always kind of wished I'd gotten the GameCube version, and this is the GameCube version,
Yep.
up-resed for, done in HD, and I'm like, you know what, I'll play that. I'll do that. I want to see what I think of it with an actual controller in my hand.
All kinds of amiibo support in the game. Lots of
Yeah.
conjecture that it may lock away a secret dungeon that you can only play if you have the amiibo.
It's like a little arena thing, they said. And like, on one hand...
Ganon amiibo makes the game more difficult.
Yeah, it makes you take double damage, and putting the 2 Link amiibo, I think refills your hearts, and the Zelda and...
So it makes the game harder or easier.
yeah,
It's a little
it doesn't really
weird.
matter. And then the Wolf amiibo...
It's kind of cheating, though, isn't it? Like, be able to play a Zelda game and just drop your amiibo down there and replenish
You
your
can
health?
only do it like once a day, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I wasn't aware of that.
And you can put here's the thing that the Wolf amiibo unlocks. First off, if you're not getting the Wolf amiibo, what's wrong with you? Because that thing looks awesome.
It does, yeah.
Second, because I love Midna. I think Midna is like Nintendo's like only real great new character. In
I'd
the
agree
last,
with that.
10
I
years.
like Midna a lot as well, yeah.
She's like got a real character to her. She's got
Yeah.
a real arc. She's got a real she wants something, and you're either going to get it or you don't, and she plays really well off of Link. And it's really weird that she's kind of sandwiched between, hey, listen, and the Fi, the Skyward Sword, whatever. I thought it was Fi because it's like a Wi-Fi pun.
I thought it was Fi. I don't know.
I have no idea because there's no
voice acting.
But like I really like Minden, so I'm like, I'm all in on the.
I guarantee somebody in the comments for this show will tell us exactly how it's pronounced.
Someone
by the way,
well, they are talking about how the opening hours of Twilight Princess were so boring, and they're right.
They are. Yeah, it's really horribly paced.
It's like 8 hours before the first full dungeon. It's just like, guys,
it's really horribly paced. Yeah.
He doesn't even get in the green outfit until then. It's just like running around in my tribe boy suit with the little Wind Waker fringe.
Yeah, it takes a long time to get going.
Yeah. But the amiibo unlocks like a little Umbrella, but the prize for the thing that the amiibo unlocks is like a wallet that holds 9,999 rupees, and like that game, you didn't have anything to spend your rupees on anyway. That was half the problem. Was I remember you go all through all this trouble to get to one of those big chests. You open it, it was like one of the giant rupees. Like, you don't have a room in your wallet. Close the chest again, and I'm just like, fuck
I
you.
want that rupee.
I don't care if it's not. Just grab it and throw it in the grass.
Let me do something.
Yeah. Just let me get the thing I came up here to get.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, on one hand, it's like it lets you open more chests and leave them open, I guess. But on the other hand, it doesn't seem like it's a very vital piece.
I mean, let's be honest. Twilight Princess HD is a stopgap game. It's like an olive branch to Nintendo fans who are pissed off because this console is being sent out to pasture way too early.
But it's gonna, and they haven't gotten a Zelda game yet.
Yeah.
And by the way, for those of us who are kind of in the, I think Zelda U might move to the NX, people like this game should worry the shit out of you.
You think so?
I mean,
it doesn't change my perspective at all.
I think my guess would be that Zelda U will be on both.
Yeah, I think that's
like Twilight Princess was.
I think that's the going.
Yeah, but there's a little slice of me that feels nervous when he sees this Twilight Princess HD, because on one end, they're probably just trying to fill a slot in the schedule, but it's just every once in a while you get that thing where it's just like, where are the real, like when Keeley would ask like Reggie, like, where's the games? Where are the Wii games for the gamers? And Reggie would be like, what? You got Animal Crossing.
Yeah.
And it's just like, I can just see that whole like, what? We didn't get a Zelda on the Wii? It's like, hey, you got Wind Waker and Twilight Princess. Those are two of the best Zeldas. And it's just like, no.
They'll put out Zelda U on the Wii U.
They better.
They will. All right, let's move on. Pokken Tournament.
Is that how you pronounce that?
I'm assuming
Pokken.
I mean, you pronounce it Pokemon, so I assume it's Pokken Tournament.
Pocket Monster plus Tekken, basically.
Yeah.
Pokken, yeah. Pokken.
It's basically a Tekken fighting game skinned with Pokemon.
But it's like different than it's like it's that, but it's also like the perspective, the way you play it is like there's an element of like those like Gundam versus games that are so popular in Japan, where like. And it's like, you're introduced, because here's the thing, I think a lot of people that are looking forward to this, that maybe aren't following it super closely, are going to be like horribly disappointed when they find out that it's not really made for couch co-op, is it? Like, the way you have to play, like, there's the special controller, but the special controller only, like I think it's something like one player has to look at the gamepad screen and the other has to use the TV with that special controller, because you have to have the perspective of it. You can't play two players on the same screen like a normal fighting game.
Right.
It's like kind of a behind-the-shoulder idea sort of thing, like those Gundam versus games. And it's just like people are already hitting the point where they're like, how are we going to do tournaments with this thing? Like,
I don't see Pokken tournaments at all.
The fighting game community is up for anything that adds new stuff to do, and on top of that, dude, Pokemon fans. Yeah. Pokemon fans, like it's so huge. Pokemon community.
It is. I mean, look, it's going to sell really well, but this is another stopgap game. Like this game was announced for the arcade for like a year before they even.
But here's the thing: is I think a lot of Pokemon fans, good chunk of the Pokemon fan base, especially older 20s and 30s, are like really excited for the idea of like, a real-time Pokemon combat game with some of the favorite Pokemon in it, and like you're going to hit the point where it's like they suddenly realize like you can't just go buy this game, put it in your Wii U, and play against someone else. You need another controller, or you need to like you use this screen and I use this screen.
I don't think, Matt, to be honest with you, I don't think hardly anyone realizes that's how it plays. I think most people are just like, it's just a fighting game. where
That's
you
certainly what
you
I
have the
thought
side
until
view
about a month ago when I started
and
finally looking into
half
it.
circle
It looks like,
towards and a button and like.
No, it's not.
Yeah, I know it's not how it works at all.
It ain't Pokemon Fighter 2. It's it's like those, it's virtual on Pokemon.
Yeah.
More than
That's
that.
a good way to describe it.
It's kind of like that. So I think that's a really weird choice they made on that.
People are going to buy it no matter what. Whether they're ultimately
sure.
happy with it and keep playing it, who knows? But it's going to sell well.
I think it's going to sell well, but I looking at it from the perspective of like a fighting game, kind of a way to get together with people and play. They made it harder than it needs to be, especially for a Pokemon. A Pokemon, you don't want to have. You don't have to explain the Pokemon game to your friends. You want to just be able to pick it up.
Well,
and
think
play.
about most people who play Pokemon. Like, they're not people who play a lot of fighting games typically.
But they might pick it up. It's like Smash Brothers. You might pick it up just to have fun with your friends because you like the characters.
And so my point is, like, making it complicated to play is a terrible idea and a bad
Agreed.
decision. Like, but I think at the same time, Nintendo knows people are going to buy it. So. Yeah. There you have it. It's all about making money at this point and making sure people don't revolt and they will buy the NX. Like, they're just trying to keep everybody happy at this point so that they don't lose them as like permanent customers, basically. Let's move on. Star Fox Zero. I have zero faith in this game. Zero. And again, a delayed game.
Big delay.
Nintendo games always get delayed. Pretty much every one of them always gets delayed. So
Star Fox has, there's been a lot of Star Fox games that never saw the light of day. It's interesting how they always, they seem to have the most second thoughts on Star Fox when it really comes down to the wire.
Here's what bothers me about Star Fox Zero is that they finally listen to people who are like, just give us Star Fox 64 too. But then that was like all they did. It's like, Star Fox 64, I can still play it and enjoy it. I don't enjoy it anywhere near as much as I did whenever I first played it. And this really is just Star Fox 64 2, but although it doesn't seem to have, like, the cinematic part of it. And not that Star Fox 64 was a cinematic tour de force or anything, but it did have a narrative that kind of carried you along and, like, I don't know, man. And technically, the game doesn't look great. Like, graphically, it just seems all barren and empty. And the Wii U gamepad stuff feels forced and unnecessary.
Why don't you just make it so I can maneuver the thing and aim it that way?
Yeah.
Like, it's weird that, like, because, like, on one hand, when I played it at E3, I liked the idea of aiming with the pad for, like, precision.
Yeah. The gyro aiming.
But, like, the control, and it's harder to explain if you haven't actually played it, but the control of the actual ship
changes.
Feels like less as a result. Like it's almost like they're like, oh, well, the controls on the ship don't have to be that precise.
Well, that's because they want you to look down at the gamepad while you're doing the aiming instead of being able to look at the TV screen.
But it's like, but for me, like, I feel like they kind of slacked off on how the ship controls work because they thought they could kind of cover that with the Band-Aid of the precision controls on the gamepad, and like that ain't Star Fox to me. Star Fox is about like split-second moves and avoiding those things with by the skinnier.
To me, it's like about insanity, like just a crazy amount of stuff going on all around you. Just the fact that you're able to look down at the gamepad while you're playing it and not suffer any consequences just shows that they missed the mark on the game. Like, that's not Star Fox to me. Like,
well, it's very empty.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Weirdly empty.
Yeah, there's not enough chaos in the game, and that's what I loved about Star Fox. It's just like, even Star Fox 64, where they could push like 5 polygons on screen at once, like, it was still chaotic. There was enough enemies around that, like, you couldn't look down at your controller while you played Star Fox 64. Here you can. I just feel like it's lost the spark that made Star Fox 64 great.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a disappointment to all but the most blinded
Nintendo fans. I'd agree with that as well. Let's move along. Shin Megami Tensei Cross Fire Emblem.
What the hell did they do with this game?
Which now is called something else, actually.
Like XE
I just refuse to call it whatever they're calling it.
Yeah, I don't get what's going on with it. Because like, it seems like it would have been pretty no-brainer to just like, okay, take Fire Emblem and Persona or Shin Megami Tensei and cross them over, but instead, like, there's like this weird. Everything takes place in like a high school, and it's like,
which is Shin Megami Tensei,
but it's like, I don't see either game I like in this.
Let's just agree that it's a horrible idea to mash these two franchises up. Like, it sounded great when I first heard about it. I was like, oh yeah, I like Fire Emblem, and I like Shin Megami Tensei.
Well, I was hoping for something like wacky and kind of like...
It is wacky, though.
But I was hoping for something that kind of like fit together in a way that's like, oh, that's like Ace Attorney and Professor Layton.
Yeah.
Where it's like, yeah, you wouldn't put those people, those characters of those franchises together, but somehow they made it work.
Yeah.
And like, this... I don't know what they're going. I mean, they might as well.
It just seems really
They might as well just throw
bizarre.
Fire Emblem characters into the Persona dance game at this point.
Here's what I would have preferred: they just make a Wii U Fire Emblem game.
That'd have been good.
Like, done and done. I'm good with that. But I mean, who knows? It could end up being great. I mean, it's definitely wacky. It doesn't make any sense to me. I mean, a big part of it, obviously, is the fact that a lot of the media has come from Japan, where, you know, the narration's hard to understand or you can't understand it at all. There hasn't been a lot of coverage of this game in the West. I'm still not 100% convinced that this game will come out this year in the West. There's a lot of conversion to be done there.
I don't think we'll see this year here.
I mean, and if that's the case, maybe it never comes out here at all.
That's also possible.
I mean...
The Wii U might be done by the time...
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know, though. Atlas has a tendency to support stuff beyond... and
this is one of those games where Atlas could be pretty much guaranteed to probably sell around 1 million copies, you know? You know, by that time, there'll probably be 12 to 14 million Wii U's out there. Maybe. Actually, I don't even know if they'll get to that. But the hardcore Nintendo fans will buy this. And, you know, there's at least 1 million of those that are, you know, otaku who really love Japanese games who will probably snatch it up. And for Atlas, generally, that's good enough as far as them making money on their conversions and translations and everything. So, I don't know. That's a gap filler, I guess. All these are gap fillers, I guess, is the best way to put it.
Or just stuff that hasn't made it till now.
Yeah. Next up, Legend of Zelda U. We've already talked about that.
800-pound gorilla in Nintendo's lineup.
Yeah, I mean, I think once we know more about that game, that's when we'll know more about the NX.
Yeah.
I think that is kind of the window that you're looking for to look through to kind of see what's going to happen with the future of the hardware, how long the Wii is going to last, how long until the transition happens with the NX, that type of thing. But yeah, I mean, we're showing the same video again. I mean, we've shown it on this show probably 5 or 6 times now over the past 7 or 8 months, and there's nothing new to show. There's that little snippet they put at the end of the Twilight Princess HD trailer to just let us know it still exists and it's still quote unquote coming. I think it's pretty certain at this point the game stars Linkle. I think that's one thing we can pretty much deduce.
Or at the very least, you're going to be able to choose between
Linkle and Link. Yeah, I mean, I really think Linkle is like the star of the game at this point.
I thought when they first showed that, you know, that the footage when where Link's being chased by the giant monster thing they stole from Princess Mononoke.
Yeah,
and all this, I thought that looked like a girl.
Well, people said that all along from the beginning. They're like, it's like a female Link.
Yeah,
and now that they've introduced Linkle to Hyrule Warriors,
I think they're laying the groundwork for like get ready because Zelda U is going to star.
And that was smart, I think, for them to put it out in Hyrule Warriors to kind of let people get over the fact that hey, there's this like female representation of Link, and I mean, I think they handled that the right way.
Could have named her something better than Link.
Yeah, I mean, it's a really stupid name, but I mean, will it come before the end of the year?
Has to.
I mean, in my opinion, I feel like they completely scrapped the game at some point.
Yeah, that's entirely possible.
I feel like Enuma maybe bombed the first attempt at this game. Because, look, it's an open-world game. Nintendo's never really made an open-world game. Enuma certainly hasn't.
And also, like, not so much in the good Zeldas for a long... I mean, if A Link Between Worlds didn't exist, I would be very skeptical about this game. Because at least A Link Between Worlds proves that someone in there knows how to make a Zelda game. Still.
Yeah, Skyward Sword was good, not great.
I didn't like Skyward Sword at all. I hated the 2DS games. Especially Phantom Hourglass. I didn't like Twilight Princess after about 30 hours. But we'll see what I think when I play with a normal controller.
Yeah.
The last Zelda game I loved a Zelda game was Wind Waker.
See, I'd say Twilight Princess for me. I really enjoyed that game. But yeah, and Wind Waker before. Actually, pretty much every Zelda up until Twilight Princess I freaking loved.
Yeah. And
then it's been kind of wishy-washy here and there. I liked Skyward Sword a lot. I just thought it was not up to the usual standards of that franchise. And ever since then, it's been kind of the same thing. Like,
I just hope this one doesn't tell me what a heart does every time I load it up.
Yeah, exactly. But like I said, I feel like this is going to be like whatever happens with this game will be the roadmap for Nintendo going forward, because it is undoubtedly its biggest game, no matter what piece of hardware it comes out for.
Well, I think this thing, Zelda U's release date hinges on the NX.
Yeah.
If the NX comes out this year, Zelda U comes out this year.
That could be.
If it doesn't, it doesn't.
That could be. I could totally get with you on that point. Fire Emblem Fates.
That's coming up soon.
Pretty soon.
February.
Yeah, Nintendo just did like a big event up in, I believe it was in San Francisco last week, where they showed off like all their RPGs. There's a bunch of previews. In fact, today was a huge day on Sifted. Like, it's been really slow this month. Like, literally every day, like, we curated maybe like 40 or 50 stories. Like, today, it was just wall-to-wall good stuff. And a lot of it was stuff from Nintendo's event. Lots of hands-on previews and gameplay footage from Fire Emblem Fates. The game looks freaking awesome.
Doing the Pokemon thing with 2 versions, I know.
Yeah, which is a little lame.
And apparently there's a point at which, like, once it kind of diverges, the game will then offer you the opportunity to buy the digital version of the other version.
For cheaper, yeah.
Really?
Here's the thing, though. I honestly, now in hindsight that the 3DS is starting to wrap up its lifespan, I honestly think that the last Fire Emblem may end up being my favorite 3DS game of all time.
Awakening?
Yep.
It was a good one.
I mean, I look back at the other 3DS games, and I'm having problems finding one that I enjoyed playing for as much or for as long as I did that game.
If you disqualify the N64 Zelda remakes, yeah.
Which I would.
Yeah.
It's the best original 3DS game, for me, personally, in my opinion. I can't think of another game.
I can't think of another one, really. I mean, I really enjoyed a couple of the, the Professor Layton games and the Ace Attorney Professor Layton crossover, but they're not as good as Awakening.
Yeah. And so here comes the sequel. I'm excited. Yeah. I'm really freaking excited. And I should be getting code of that very soon as well. Although that thing is going to suck up my life.
Yeah, that's a long review.
Yeah, that's a lot of time to put into a review, but it's worth it. And it's a 3DS game, so it's one of those deals where I can sit and play it while the wife's watching TV or whatever. So it's not like appointment gaming where you have to like hog up the television or I have to come in here to play it because my wife doesn't want to hear it or whatever. So, all right, Project X Zone 2. We're not going to talk about this one too long. It's kind of like Fire Emblem Fates, except it stars mascots from 3 different publishers: Namco,
Sega, and Capcom.
Capcom. That's quite a lineup right there.
Yeah. A lot more panty shots in this one.
Yeah. I'm sure, and, based upon the recent track record with Nintendo, I'm guessing, because they also censored Fire Emblem Fates, by the way. Like, the petting mini-game was removed from that, so...
Yeah, I'm not going to miss that.
Yeah, I can't say I'm going to lose any sleep over that, but...
I'm in for this for the Sega characters, basically.
I
played the first one.
Yeah, me too, and I liked it a lot, so I'm really excited for that. Bravely Second.
Never played the first.
You did it.
No.
I never finished it.
Bravely Default, right?
Yep, I never finished it.
I own it, but
yeah.
I never played it.
I had never finished it. It's a long, big JRPG, and it just came out at a time where I was really busy and didn't have time to finish it. I really enjoyed it. It is like, it's kind of the pinnacle of the old school JRPG style. Like, I would liken it to like the first couple Final Fantasy games. Story's not quite as good as those games, but the gameplay and the balancing and everything is... the grinding's not too awful. I have not touched Bravely Second yet, so I have no idea if they've kept that aesthetic for this one. But I'm excited for it. I don't know. I'll probably never finish it again. But if you're a JRPG fan, you should be very, very excited for this game. I think you guys are probably going to love it if it's anything like the first one. And I'm guessing JRPG fans have already played the first one as well. So. Probably. But that, 3DS is shaping up to have a decent year.
Yeah. Well, Nintendo, no matter how much Nintendo has flagged on their consoles, their handhelds, they've always managed to, at least make you glad you have them.
Yeah. I will say, though, it's looking like they're winding up the 3DS, too, though.
Well, yeah, because I think the NX is also their next handheld.
That's what I'm saying.
It's all the same.
And even though they've denied it all this time, how lame is that for them to deny? Maybe they're just so pissed off that people guessed it, like, right away. They're just like, I don't even care. Even if they're right, we're just going to deny it.
The plumber could have told us that. It's like, what else can you do? And I'll bet you it's got some kind of tethering for mobile phones in it too. Sorry, Nintendo. I blew your big idea, but it's like there's no other direction for them to go with.
Because this is kind of it. That's the 3DS. Like, those are the big games for the year for 3DS.
Yeah, and the next game you're about to mention might be really the death knell for the standalone Nintendo handheld.
Pokemon Go.
Pokemon Go. Gonna be huge.
It is gonna be huge, yeah.
Going to just... Get ready, man. Like, this could be Minecraft level.
Oh, yeah, it could be, definitely.
It could change everything.
Yeah. Well, it'll be the first runaway mobile hit for Nintendo. Pretty much guaranteed. Provided they don't completely tank it, which is possible.
Possible. I'm interested because I have played Ingress, the big, the real place MMO that this same developer made before. And it has the same problem as a lot of those, geographically based, massively multiplayer mobile games where it's like, if you didn't get in on day one, and if you didn't obsessively, play it in certain area, if you didn't become the king or whatever of this particular area in the first week and just constantly keep playing, you're never going to get anywhere. Yeah. So, joining, Ingress now is, you can't do anything. Because, especially somewhere as heavily populated as LA, it's the whole city's locked up. It's never going to change. And so Pokemon, basically you'll log on and I can do nothing. So Pokemon Go has to be much more willing to give the individual the freedom to play, and feel they did something each day.
Yeah.
And I would hope. Nintendo is obviously, I think, going to have a better handle on how gameplay works properly than the developer did on their own.
That's where Nintendo will sprinkle its special powder all over the game, man. They're not going to make this game so that people don't want to play it by themselves, or can get something rewarding out of it playing it by themselves. And they're not going to allow the game to come out where if people play it early and other people get in late, the people who come in late are screwed. That's the one thing about Nintendo. That's where their seal of quality usually matters. Mm-hmm. They do look out for the player, not just the player who adopts day one. They look at a long tail for their games because their games typically do have long tails.
Well, because I'm not I'm not a huge Pokemon fan.
Yeah.
But I wanted a game like one of these geographically based MMO phone. I wanted one of these things since before these smartphones existed. I always loved the idea of this sort of thing. But all of them have just been unplayable to me because I have a life.
Yeah.
And so
a real life.
Yeah, and so if I can't spend that long on the phone every day trying to conquer imaginary mana points or whatever the hell. So I'm hoping Nintendo kind of takes this concept and makes something playable out of it. And if that's Pokemon, so be it. I'll play the hell out of that.
Yep. All right, so that's going to wrap up Nintendo for 2016. Hopefully it isn't really wrapping it up. Hopefully there are much bigger stories to tell.
No, I think the second
before
half
the end
is
of the
still,
year.
There's a lot of fog of war on Nintendo's second half.
Yeah, come E3 time, or hopefully even in March around GDC, we start hearing some rumblings. As it stands right now, though, that is Nintendo in 2016. Not exactly a great lineup, man.
No, but
if you only have Nintendo platforms, I think you're going to be playing your 3DS a lot.
That's again why I say the NX is this year.
Yeah. Last thing we should mention, Paper Mario Wii U. There's a rumor floating around that is coming out this year, which could provide a little stopgap. Paper.
Back.
Yeah, the 3DS game just came out. It's not getting amazing reviews.
They could do some cool stuff with Paper Mario using the gamepad, though.
Yeah, for sure.
If that's how you stick the sticker.
Yeah, you mean finally they'll use a gamepad for something?
Yeah. Hey, that map on Xenoblade is amazing.
It is. All right, let's move on to multi-platform. We have a ton of these games to get through as well. We're going to kick that off with Far Cry Primal. That's another game that today a ton of new information was coming out about. There's previews galore, tons of new footage. Game's coming out in a month and a half. Previews not exactly encouraging. In fact, all the previews are basically saying what we were saying all along, is when you take away the guns and all you have is a bow and arrow and sticks, it takes away a lot of the combat, and that's exactly what people were saying in those previews today.
It's going to live or die on its atmosphere, it sounds like.
Yeah, and when you're talking about open world games that can drag on for a lot of hours, atmosphere better be really good. So
I'm interested still because I love the Far Cry games, but
I'm going to play it without a doubt. I'm excited for it, and I'll give it a go. But last couple Far Cry games set pretty high bars.
Yeah, they did.
So we'll see how that goes. There's enough information about that out there already. We don't need to really beleaguer it too much. Persona 5, huge.
Where? Waiting. Atlas swore up and down. Will be out by the end of 2015.
Yeah.
Was not.
Yeah.
Where's the release date?
Where's just media for this game? Let's be honest.
Yeah.
So I was getting media together for the show today, and there's really just one trailer for this game at this point. One. They had put out the opening cinematic for the game, and they took it down.
What?
They took it down. You could not find it anymore. Like,
Wow.
it was up for a while, and now it's gone. And now you're just left with this one trailer. And granted, it is pretty long, but we don't need to say anything about this game. People, look, Persona 4 is amazing. People love it. They're going to love this one. There's no way they're going to screw this game up.
I love Persona. I mean, I've been playing Persona since the first one.
Yeah.
As my, I like it better than the main Shin Megami Tensei series.
Yeah.
Because it's less mean.
Well, I think most people do, yeah.
Yeah, and the shift in 3 to kind of the high school life thing I thought was brilliant.
Yeah.
And I really loved it, and 4 was better. And 4 on Vita was even better than 4 on PS2.
It really was. It was like worth playing again.
Yeah, and it's just like, I can't wait for this game, but I'm getting irritated by how long I'm waiting for this game.
Especially with no information.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really the thing. It's like there's no new anything. Like, granted, this trailer does show off a lot.
There's a lot of stuff.
There's a lot of like little elements in there if you really pick through it. Like, you can find a lot of details in it. But yeah, like maybe they feel like the game's marketing proof and they don't need to market it, which is kind of true.
Yeah, I mean, the people who are interested are going to get it no matter what.
But I think it depends on what's your perspective. Like, what's your anticipation of sales? Look, if you're looking to sell 1 million or 2, sure, you can get away with doing this. If you want this series to go up a notch, you got to kind of play the game at least a little bit.
And this seems like the game that could do that.
Right. Oh, man, the hype behind this game is insane. Remember when this trailer came out, it did like 5 million views in like 2 days or something like that? Like, there aren't many games that can do that.
No, the audience is there if you tell them when they can buy it.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think you don't really have to hype this game up. Everyone's already pretty jacked up for it. So, let's move on. Mass Effect Andromeda.
You think that's making it this year?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah?
Well, the game's been in development for 4 years now. They talked about it for the first time officially in 2012. So here we are 3 years later. You figure they did pre-pro for a year before they finally announced it officially. 4 years, development cycle. Yeah, I think it's coming. I mean, all their marketing materials say it's coming. Everything officially EA has put out says it's coming. Again, a game we haven't seen hardly anything of. Like, the trailers that have been put out are, like, basically garbage, to be honest with you. They're terrible. None of them are good, and none of them show very much.
Yeah, I'm interested, but I love Mass Effect's probably my favorite new series of maybe the century other than Witcher.
Yeah.
And, I just don't know. I don't know if I want Mass Effect without Shepard.
Really?
I don't know. The Shepard was that and that kind of whole conceit was that series to me.
Well, see, I always looked at it like I didn't really care about Shepard because I created my own guy and like.
No, I loved it. I love the world and the setting and the civilizations you ran into and the Citadel and all that stuff. And if you're really taking it out of our galaxy and into Andromeda, like, I don't know if that's going to be recognizable to me in ways that are meaningful.
Yeah.
So, but again, part of that is because we don't fucking know anything.
Yeah.
Like, they haven't shown anything. We don't know.
Yeah. They have shown hardly anything.
You better mention something at E3 this year.
I mean, all they have said is like a whole new galaxy.
A whole new galaxy.
Yeah.
No repeated characters.
Yeah. So.
No Mako.
I'm still excited for it though, and you are too.
Yeah, I hope.
And that's really what matters, right?
Yeah.
Homefront, The Revolution. Again, another game today that there's previews and new videos for. Again, if you guys have not been on Sifted today, you should have been on there. There's all kinds of good stuff on there today. Again, an auspicious previews for this game. People are saying it feels a little dated because it has also been delayed. How many times have we said the word delayed? That's a good drinking game.
A bunch of these were 2015.
Yeah. This is one of them.
No, really, seriously, no kidding, no fooling, 2015. We'll see, Q2.
And this is one of them. This was delayed from 2015. They say it does look a little long in the tooth. It doesn't look like it's quite up to scratch visually, but they said it's really quirky and, nutty.
I don't care.
Yeah? You don't care about this game at all?
No.
Yeah. I mean, I honestly don't either.
I couldn't really even tell you anything with the first one, and I played that one to the end. Basically...
Dude, Homefront, the first one, sold like mad, but it was bad.
Because the marketing was crazy.
Right.
The marketing was effectively, very effective.
It really was, yeah.
I mean, Homefront's going to be one where it's like, if you come back and be like, dude, this is amazing, I'll play it. But, I got other things to do.
Yeah, you're right, man. It's hard to think about, one, spending $60 on something like this, and two, just setting aside the time to play it.
This will be like Until Dawn, where it's just like, you came back raving about it, so I'll play it.
Yeah. Well,
Like,
I don't know if I'll come back raving about this, but
Yeah, exactly.
but that's what it's going to take, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
That game's flying under the radar, and I think for good reason. There's really no hook to it, other than the hook it's been relying on since the first game, which is like, they brought the fight to America. Like,
okay.
that actually carried me through the first game, I will admit.
I mean, there might
For the 4.5 hours it lasted.
There might be a legit audience for that because we are in sort of this weird period of like everybody's freaking out about things attacking America. And,
Yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. It plays on your paranoia, but like there were even in a couple Call of Duty games where they fight in America. Like I like fighting in these prefab neighborhoods where you're just like, you feel like you're defending your own soil.
It just feels like, and it's weird to say about Call of Duty, but I feel like the Call of Duty sequences where the fight comes to America are more believable than Homefront.
Yeah.
Because North Korea can't invade America.
No, it's not happening.
It's just not. And I know it was originally going to be China, and then they're like, well, that might make it not sell very well in China. I'm like, yeah, that's a good point.
And they don't sell video games in North Korea.
Yeah, so North Korea can't say anything. It'd be like, it was like either North Korea invades or the Amish invade. So,
now that's a game I would play. Being someone from central Pennsylvania,
you need someone who's not going to sue,
who lived
those are your two options.
lived near Lancaster, I would totally play that game. The Amish invade with no weapons.
Amish assault.
All they have are like hatchets and hammers.
Pitchforks.
Run
away, hay cart! It's on fire!
But they didn't do that. All right, Mafia 3 up next.
I'm in.
Yeah, I'm almost on the same level with
that.
if you are with Homefront as I am with Mafia, honestly.
I kind of trust. I mean, I don't actually know who exactly, in terms of comparison to Mafia 1 and 2, was making Mafia 3, but I like Mafia 1, I like Mafia 2. The setting of Mafia 3 is interesting, the New Orleans sort of like back
I
thing.
love New Orleans as a city. It's probably one of my top 2 or 3 American cities. It is just a great town full of history, and it actually is the only town in America that feels like Europe.
Yeah.
So the settings got me.
Yeah.
But I don't know, like the stuff that they've shown in this game, it feels really hokey and like action gamey. Like it doesn't have the vibe that the last 2 Mafia games had.
Well, actually, I'm interested because like the thing about Mafia, especially 2, is that like they have these gorgeous open worlds for their times.
Yeah.
They have these gorgeous open worlds, and they do nothing with them.
Yeah,
Mafia 2, there was nothing to do in the world. It was literally a place to drive through when you're getting to the next mission checkpoint. Like, there was nothing in that world. And it was it's like that Mafia 2 has one of the most ridiculously lovingly recreated old-timey New Yorks you'll ever see. I mean, that was rock star level attention to detail in that game. And nothing.
Well, the first one you couldn't even go into buildings, right?
No,
yeah,
like not unless it was story driven.
Right, yeah.
And that was older, obviously. The thing that I remember the most about Mafia 1, it was the first game to really get cigarette smoke right.
Yeah.
Cigarette smoke in that game is amazing.
Yeah,
but
I don't know. I mean, it's all that. Like,
I'm not
first of
saying
all,
I got it pre-ordered or anything, but I got my eye open.
I mean, look, the first 2 Mafia games were good, not great.
Right.
This one, and the thing I liked about the first 2 Mafia games was the vibe and the grittiness and the unflinchingness of it. I don't even think that's a word. I liked that about Mafia, but I don't get that from this game. It just seems like generic action, third-person shooter, open-world game. Like, I feel like it lost the vibe.
To be a Mafia game, it needs to have some teeth.
Yeah.
And we'll see. There's still time for the marketing.
Look, I'm passing judgment on trailers and gameplay, so, take that with a grain of salt,
let's
people.
See some trailers that show some teeth.
Yep, exactly. No Man's Sky up next. People are probably like, why isn't that in the PlayStation section? Well, that's
on PC.
Because it's also coming to PC. People always forget that it's actually a multi-platform game. Also, wouldn't be surprised eventually if it comes to Xbox One, although Sony may give them a little cash to keep that from happening.
If you want to play that game in VR, you better get the PC version.
Yeah, that's the way it's looking.
Yeah.
I mean, based upon what we were talking about earlier in the show.
No Man's Sky is my most anticipated game in existence.
Yep.
Period.
Yep. You said in our last episode of 2015 it was your most anticipated game of this year. I'm excited about it, not as excited as you are. I still have a lot of concerns.
I'm equal parts excited and fearful.
Yeah,
I feel like I am not saying it's my most anticipated because I think it's going to be the greatest game of all time. It's my most anticipated because it could be the greatest game that I ever play for myself.
Right.
But there's also an equal chance, at least an equal chance, that it's just like, this is totally not what I wanted, like kind of thing.
I'm afraid it could be boring and repetitive.
Yeah.
That's my big concern with this game. We'll see. I mean, every time they show me the game, it does look boring and repetitive, but...
I'm hoping that when it's your ship and your character and your world and your scanner and whatever, like it has a little more depth or a little more attachment to it. But it could be nothing. It could be absolutely nothing.
I just feel like by the game's nature, the fact that it's just randomly generating everything, I just feel like there's only so many variables that it has.
It is not randomly. That's the thing, is that it's all going to hinge
Procedurally
on how well they curate that idea. You know, they create the seeds. They tell it how to do it. They tell it what the parameters are, and it depends like how deep that goes.
Huh. I don't know. I have a lot of concerns about this game. Everyone else is all over it, and
I think there's a lot of skepticism surrounding it. There's certainly...
I watch a lot of podcasts, and I got to tell you, like, people are all over. I hardly ever hear anyone say anything concerning about this game. Like, people are just like, sploosh, like, over and over again. Like, every podcast I watch. Like, no one's ever like, gee, every time they show this game, the planet kind of looks the same, and there's the same creatures walking around. Like, I don't know, man.
I don't know. It's... There's a version of this where that is my game of the year.
Yeah.
There is a version...
Oh, I can see that too.
There is a version of this where when Thanksgiving rolls around, it's my turkey.
Yeah.
You know, I as hyped as I am for the idea of that game, like, I don't understand how you look at that game and don't also, like, think, like, holy shit, this could be a total disaster.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it doesn't matter if there's a billion planets if they all look like the same 100 planets.
Yeah, well,
like,
I've learned that lesson from Elite Dangerous. Yeah, I said it. Yeah.
All right, let's move on. Dark Souls 3. Here's another journalist darling game.
Yeah, I'm in.
Game's looking awesome.
Yeah.
Again, it's another game I look at and I'm like, it has everything I love in a video game.
But you're just not going to play it. It's going to be the same thing, I think, as Bloodborne, where I'm just like, yeah, I really dug it. And you'll be like, I couldn't get into it. Like, I want to, but I can't.
Yeah. And look,
but you never know. Here's the thing, you never know, because I felt like that about Demon Souls and Dark Souls 1, and then Dark Souls 2. I did get into it, got through it, and did it, and I love it now. And now I kind of sometimes that happens to me. Remember when you loved Ninja Gaiden, and I was just like, I don't get it, man. I don't get it. And then I finished it, and I started another game of it, and all of a sudden, somewhere in the first or second level of my second playthrough, I was like, something clicked, and I'm like, oh, I get it. I get what Shane sees. I get it. So
here's the thing about
Dark Souls 3 will be it.
It could be. Here's the thing about this series, though, is like, I don't want them to change it either. Like, a lot of people will be selfish and be like, I want them to change it to something that, like, I want. But I don't want that because I see people that love this game, and I see the joy that they get out of the game, and I would never want to take that from them.
Yeah,
like,
but here's the
I
thing.
like seeing people get that excited over a game, no matter what it is, or no matter whether I like it or not.
Right, but here's the thing, is that each of the 4 games are still different in their own way. You know, each of the 4 games is a very different take on that same material. Demon Souls is not Dark Souls 2. Dark Souls 1 is not Bloodborne. Bloodborne is not Dark Souls 2. They're all very distinct in how they approach things.
Yeah.
So Dark Souls 3 could be the approach to this concept that does it for you.
It could be. Everything else about it, I love it. I love the art. I love the setting. I love the atmosphere.
And this thing looks so good.
It really does.
It looks amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I'll try it again. You know what?
Yeah.
I will try the game again. I will give it another chance because it has everything else that I love about games. I love the whole gothic element of it. I love how it's like, it doesn't just give everything to you on a plate. Like, I'll give it another whirl. I promise. All right, next up, XCOM 2. We're both all over that one.
Yeah.
I'm really excited for that game. No caveats. No caveats with that in any way, shape, or form. The game is shaping up to look awesome. Again, recent previews have all been glowing. All the gameplay I've watched has looked absolutely amazing. You know what you're getting with this one. It doesn't look like they've completely destroyed the formula. I think they've added depth where they needed to add it, and they haven't taken anything away that they shouldn't have. The only thing I would say is that maybe there's a little bit of saturation with it because, they're big games, and I've played 2 of them in the last handful of years and spent a lot of time already in it. But you know what? I feel like
they're going off the deep end and some stuff on this one enough that I think it's going to feel fresh.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm saying that right now, but as soon as I start playing it within 40 minutes, I'll be like, I won't even remember what I just said about it.
Tech.
Yeah, I'm all over it. We're both all over it. Everybody should be all over it. If you even have an inkling for strategy games, you should be all over it. So, next up, Deus Ex Mankind Divided.
Sure been running the B-roll for this game a lot on this show.
Yeah, I didn't have to load
Closing
any
another
footage.
year.
I didn't have to load any footage in the TriCaster for this one. It was all there already.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, I'm excited about this one. I like the first one, or the first Adam Jenkins one rather. The previous one.
yeah.
I thought the director's cut showed they learned a lot about what they screwed up in the original cut.
Yeah.
And I'm hoping this one really nails it.
Okay.
It looks amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I was disappointed it was delayed from last year. There's no way it's not going to make it this year.
Yeah.
It's coming.
Not soon, but...
There's been some rumblings recently, though, that it's been through a bit of development hell and some pretty big changes here and there, which makes me a little nervous. But there was also some words that it was almost going to be episodic at one point, which seems crazy.
let's not do that.
Yeah, let's not do that. But it is Square Enix, so...
I'm waiting for Square to announce that Final Fantasy 15 is going to be episodic.
They could. It really could. At the rate that game's going, it might be better if it's exactly. So yeah, I think again this is another unanimous one. We're really pumped, ready, excited for this game. I love the way you can approach it differently. You can play it stealth. You can play it run and gun. You can.
And I really like the world. I like the take on the world. Like I think it really hangs together, and it's a cool cyberpunk sort of. It'll do until CD Projekt Red's Cyberpunk shows up.
The debut trailer for this game was one of my favorite debut trailers of the last couple years, actually. So, and, since then, the media and the marketing has only gone even further. I mean, there was that weird snafu with, the pre-order program or something?
Yeah, where they canceled the whole thing, and it was like you were unlocking
wasn't it like,
stuff,
you're unlocking,
and the more pre-orders would unlock these special things.
Yeah.
It was just like, no.
Other than that, everything's been all gravy
Which
with
makes
it.
even less sense now, where it's like, okay, so you were doing that a year out.
Yeah.
Like a year, minimum a year before the game was released.
Yeah.
Nuh-uh.
Nuh-uh. Otherwise, all good though. They've handled the promotional media for it very well.
Mm-hmm.
It's looking awesome. The developer interviews for it have all been encouraging.
Yeah. Best use of orange ever since Half-Life.
Well, the game before that, it was gold, right? Remember they had the whole gold aesthetic in the one before? I remember I did an interview with the developer at the debut event for that game, and that's all I wanted to talk about was gold and how gold was so symbolic through the whole game. And if you do look at it, there's gold everywhere, little hidden all over the place.
Everything kind of glows gold. Everything's
it's pretty odd that they chose that aesthetic.
You look at it long enough, you're kind of like, it's like everything's covered in urine.
You're right.
Very symbolic.
Yeah. Next up, we kind of talked about this already. Final Fantasy 15.
Yep. 11 years and counting. Let's see if it happens this time.
It kind of has to.
It would have to. I mean,
remember they had a release.
One of these days we'll be in that convertible with these very pretty men. And,
they had a release date for the release date.
Right.
Yeah. They set a date that when they were going to announce the release date.
Get this thing out of the way so then they can focus on Final Fantasy VII, Episode 2,
yeah.
Episode 1.
Yeah.
Episode 1.
I think it's coming. Yeah. I mean, I would say with 85% certainty we'll play Final Fantasy 15 this year.
I hope so.
I mean...
It's got to stop.
I still don't know that I'm all that excited for the game, though. I played the demo and I was like, it's
fine.
Fine, exactly. Fine is the best way to describe it.
That's Final Fantasy now, really. I mean, that's what I said about 13. It's what I said about 13.
I don't want it to go back to a turn-based combat system or anything, but
I'd like to go back to characters I care about in a story that makes moderate amounts of sense, and we haven't really gotten that since, let's say 9.
Yeah.
If you were being generous, if I'm really being honest, 6. Yeah. 6 is the last one that I really liked story-wise, because I love 12. But I like 12.
No, I like 9 a lot, man.
I like 9 a lot, except when they drop the Vivi story halfway through and never fucking mention it again, and then they wrap it up by having him right before the final battle go like, "Hey, Vivi, you okay, man?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm all right." That's it. That's the end of it. It's never, they were on a verge of telling the most interesting character story in the history of the franchise, and at the end of disc 2, there's eh.
Yeah. Ugh. They're guilty of that in a lot of cases, though. I mean, that's Square Enix in a nutshell, pretty much. Tom Clancy's The Division. I think we feel like we've talked about that enough already. We probably don't need to go over that again. Overwatch. There's a question mark. You think? As far as it coming out?
No, I think in terms of whether it'll catch on.
I don't know, man. That beta got the journalists all frothy.
Ew.
Yeah, exactly. It's not a great image.
No.
But I'm telling you...
Especially not if you know a lot of these guys.
Exactly, yeah. I'm telling you, though, I have not seen journalists this excited over a shooter since, like, Call of Duty 4. Like, the first, like, Modern Warfare. Like, just the way they're talking about it, their anticipation level, like... It is the shooter of 2016 as far as their hype level is concerned.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see if the gaming community in general will... Because that's Gearbox, right?
No, that's you're thinking of Battleborn. This is the Blizzard shooter.
This is Blizzard shooter.
Yeah. And we're not even previewing Battleborn, by the way, in this roundup. You mentioned it. That's good enough.
There. Battleborn's coming.
Pshaw.
Because that's the MOBA.
Yeah, well, MOBA-ish
Ishy.
shooter, yeah. Overwatch is class-based,
Okay.
but the classes are crazy cool. It's not like Rainbow Six Siege where one guy has a grenade and does one thing.
Like the bow and the arrow.
And they have crazy abilities that really make a difference in battle. Like the beta was unanimously praised. Like people were freaking out over it, and you can see there's one of the power-ups. Like it's not like a traditional shooter where you got a gun that shoots 2 bullets at once or some stupid crap like that.
It's weird how there's sort of this rise in these these arena-based sort of shooters that are kind of trying to, there's Lawbreakers, there's all, and it's sort of like, is this really a space that's kind of up for grabs right now, or is that just because it feels like you're kind of trying to?
I think they're overestimating the interest in it.
Yeah, well, you're trying to horn in on kind of the space that's owned by Team Fortress 2 and Counter-Strike Go, and it's just like, is that wise? Is there something that's sort of pushing people to think hey, this is ripe for the taking, or this is the time to do.
Well, I mean, this game in particular is nothing like Counter-Strike Go. I mean, honestly, there's really no other shooter like this. Period. I mean, if you're watching this gameplay footage, it's freaking insane. The characters actually mean something in this. It reminds me a little bit of Team Fortress 2, where the roles are clearly defined, and there's actually a difference between playing one guy, other than one guy has a shotgun and another guy has an assault rifle. I don't know. I think Blizzard's doing a great job building the brand and building up the characters in the game, making each one something people. In that way, it's a little bit is like League of Legends, where they're very iconic, and you can see people cosplaying as these characters going forward. I don't know if you remember the debut trailer for this, but it was all character focused, and it was all this story about all the different characters interacting with each other in this battle going on. I don't know. I think Overwatch is going to be the hot boy first-person shooter of 2016. We'll see. I could be wrong, but...
Well, I don't know. I mean, I would hope so, because I think Blizzard will... Because that's the end of the year, closer to the end of the year?
Yeah.
Yeah, Blizzard's going to want to hit at that point.
They're going to need one.
Because I'm just going to predict it right now. Warcraft, biggest bomb of the summer.
The movie, you mean?
Movie. Yeah.
How much? They're not dependent on that movie to make a ton of money.
Not dependent on it, but they put a lot of time and money and effort into it,
Yeah.
and I feel like it's going to underperform even by anyone's standards. At least domestically, it might be a hit overseas. Maybe they're counting on the Chinese market or the Asian markets, where the game is still much.
The movie should have come out 5 or 6 years ago.
True.
When World of Warcraft was setting the world on fire.
I was, we're watching football this Sunday, and we got a pretty large group and a lot of not following the gaming movie nerd news people.
Yeah.
And a lot of commercials for Warcraft ran, and everyone was just like, "What the hell is that?"
It was a little weird.
It's not. They need a marketing miracle to make that movie something.
I could see it. I could see it not doing great. I think it'll do well out of the gate. All the Warcraft fans will go. I don't think it'll.
I don't even know of that many because again, first off, a lot of the Warcraft people don't think they care about the lore.
Yeah.
I think most people play the game. They don't play the lore. I can't tell you who any of these people's names are.
I couldn't either. Yeah.
It's I know. The Lich King and Frostmourne is the sword, and there's
basically all the bosses from all the expansion packs.
Or Thorin, I don't know.
No, I hear you. I hear you totally.
But it sucks because I look at that movie and so much care and effort was put into that movie to make it look like the
CG
world
looks pretty good, yeah.
And or even just the shots they put out of it was on Sifted, the Stormwind, the marketplace area, the bulletin board has all the quests from the World of Warcraft on it and all that. I mean, that's love and care, and no one's gonna pay attention to it.
I think I'll go see it.
I'll probably see it.
I think I'll see that in the theater, but I won't go see Ratchet and Clank.
That's your problem.
That could be. Or it could be that I don't know the person who wrote Ratchet and Clank. Next up, Dishonored 2. I don't honestly think this game's coming this year.
I don't think so either.
It's announced for 2016 currently. I would give it about a 25% chance of actually coming out in 2016.
I don't think it's happening.
I mean, the other part of the plan has worked according to schedule, putting out the remake of the first one. Came out when it was supposed to, and it came out of nowhere, keep in mind. We didn't know about it, and then it came out 3 months later.
The only thing I'll give it is the idea is, Bethesda sort of has their newfound strategy of, like, we're going to announce stuff real close to when it's ready.
Yeah, look at Fallout.
Like Fallout
it was, 4 or 5 months? Yeah. Not even.
Yeah, it was June to November.
Yeah.
And, so maybe that's what's happening here, so maybe that it will be ready, but I don't know. My gut instinct
they could have been working on it all this time.
Yeah, but my gut instinct says that, like, if it was coming that soon, we'd have seen more.
Yeah.
By this point.
Yeah, because right now it's just one trailer. That's all there is. But, again, look at Fallout 4.
Who knows?
Let's move on. Ghost Recon Wildlands. We were talking earlier about how the whole Tom Clancy brand is just kind of it's gotten a little easy and loose with that.
I've seen some early hype on this one, actually.
Well, it looks insane.
Yeah.
I mean, look at it. Just watch all this footage. It looks absolutely. Here's a game too that we didn't hear anything about, and they show it for the first time, and it looks like it's done.
I mean, I've heard. A lot of them are like kind of the clickbait listy stuff, but there's a lot of why Ghost Recon is going to save the Tom Clancy brand kind of thing around this one.
This has about as much to do with Tom Clancy as I do. None, 0, dude.
But if that brand name is on it, that counts.
Yeah, for sure. It'll help. It'll make people give it a chance, and other people who may not have even tried the game will at least pay attention to it or watch a trailer or whatever. I understand why Ubisoft does it. I just think that they're diluting the Tom Clancy brand by attaching games like this to it. So,
well, at this point, it seems like if there's an automatic weapon in the game, it's a
Tom Clancy game. Yeah,
we're lucky it's not Tom Clancy's Far Cry at this point.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, that's probably next, actually. But yeah, huge open world, really gritty. It appears really violent, which
really kind of like drug cartel stuff.
I mean, it looks like
ripped from the headlines.
It's like Tom Theft Auto or something. It's the best way to describe this game. Other than the fact that I don't think Tom Clancy should have his name on it, I think the game looks freaking awesome. As far as open world games for 2016, it's probably the top of my list, except for Horizon, maybe?
Yeah, well, Tom Clancy doesn't really have anything to say about it at this point.
Right, well, he died.
Yes.
And they paid the big lump sum for the license, I believe, before he passed away. Or did they pay his estate?
No, it was a long time ago.
When they bought the license?
When they bought the license, I think.
Because they were making these games for a long time, and he still owned it.
Yeah, but they bought the license from him, in perpetuity, and I think around the time they bought Red Storm.
Is that right? I don't think it's been that long.
No?
No,
It was earlier than you would think, I think.
I think it was a year or 2 before he died. They had worked a deal out. But anyway.
Right. It was definitely before Splinter Cell Blacklist.
Aside from the name, I'm all over it. I think it looks great. There's parachuting in it without the total zaniness
I'm just picturing you playing this, just being this isn't Tom Clancy. just loving every minute of it. Every once in a while,
begrudgingly,
you suddenly just get this Tom Clancy.
But yeah, it's got the whole skydiving, parachuting element to it, Just Cause 3 minus the whole tongue-in-cheek part of it.
Yeah, you're probably not going to be able to break a fall by grappling to the ground.
Yeah, and I'm hoping the story in this is far better than Just Cause 3's, because Just Cause 3's story is absolutely terrible.
Barely has.
I mean, it is a joke. And I'm sure this will be better. Even just the cinemas they've shown of it already make it appear to be better. So
the only thing interesting about Just Cause 3's story has been the mental gymnastics they've gone through to explain why a Latino main character is from an Italian island. I was all right.
Yep.
I imagine Ghost Recon will at least be more true to geography than that.
Yeah. All right, let's move on. Mirror's Edge Catalyst. We've talked about that a ton on the show. Yeah. One of those games that's for a certain audience, probably not going to be a mass hit. I mean...
But it's nice they're doing it.
Yeah. It's almost like an olive branch, like EA. Yeah. Between this and Unravel, it's let's build our street cred a little bit. So we're no longer called the world's worst company to work for. It looks cool. I'm sure I'll probably enjoy it. It's also been delayed a couple times.
But at least it's nice to see EA taking advantage of one of their cool properties that otherwise, I'm sure everyone was worried this was going to be thrown, on the junk pile along with stuff like Starflight and Wing Commander.
Yeah.
Command and Conquer and all that stuff. So it's nice that they're maybe giving this one another shot.
I will make a bold prediction. This will be the last ever Mirror's Edge game.
Oh, that's bold.
It's not bold at all,
No,
but but it's going to be right. They'll never make another one.
About the easiest prediction to make for 2016.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I want to make sure I'm right. So, yeah, I think this is the last one. Like, hopefully they wrap up the story well, and
Yeah, hope you like it, Mirror's Edge fans, because this is all you're getting.
this is what you're getting. Yeah, and I would even be surprised if like the DLC is all that extensive afterwards. Like,
It'll just be like those weird. What was on the first one? It was just like a bunch of like weird, abstract, like obstacle courses.
yeah,
It wasn't even anything.
I'm guessing that'll probably be the same thing with this one, if you get that even. And then to wrap up our multi-platform section for our 2016 preview, I mean, by the way, think about the list of games that we just went through, the multi-platform games. Holy cow,
Lot
man.
of
In
stuff.
1 year? And I mean, we're forgetting a ton of stuff. Like you
And
said,
there's
like
stuff we don't know
earlier,
about yet.
like earlier you brought up Battleborn. Like it's even in this list. We even talk about it like this year. It's like I was saying when we started this. This year, man, may be the best year ever for video games. I mean, just the sheer number of games that look pretty freaking awesome,
And we don't know everything there is
coupled
to
with
know about the
the
second half
huge
of the
list
year.
of games that look like might be mind-blowing. Like, holy cow. So, Doom, the last game we're going to talk about.
Doom.
Yeah. yeah.
It's Doom.
I'll play this game. I'll say that much. Even if I don't have to review it or do a game eval for it, I will play it.
Yeah, probably. I mean, I don't.
I do feel like it has captured the feel of Doom.
Yeah, I mean, it's you know. Doom,
Like, I didn't feel like
at its-
Doom 3 did that.
No, I mean, Doom at its heart should be like playing the cover of a heavy metal album, and this one seems to be.
It should be really freaking fast.
Yeah.
Like lightning fast.
And you know what they showed at E3 at Bethesda's press conference was it looked good. It looked Doom.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, most enemies in a Doom game should be like 1 or 2 hit kills.
Yeah.
In my opinion. Like, you should have a gun powerful enough
should be numbers.
that when you shoot the demon, it explodes with one shot and crumbles, and then another one comes. Like, that to me is Doom.
And it should be like like the cyber demons were like unusual. It's
Right.
Like, oh, these things are powerful, can take a lot of hits,
Yeah.
and like that's why they're special.
Exactly. Yeah, it's like the Crimson Heads in like the Resident Evil remake. Like when you see them, you're like, oh shit! Like you know you got to get yourself together, or you're going to be done. So they're definitely a lot closer to what they should be doing than Doom 3 was. I'll say that much. Still not quite there though. I don't think.
No, but probably good enough for an afternoon.
Yeah. Well, I mean the multiplayer.
And it's just nice to see id back
Yeah.
since
Making
Rage.
anything. Yeah.
So much.
It's
for
been
that.
a long time. Yeah. So I mean, wow. I mean, 2016 is looking awesome, dude.
Yep.
Really looking awesome. I'm really excited for this year. I'm surprised there haven't been, with this many games, like there should have been one in January. Like, somebody missed a huge opportunity there.
Well, I got my January game.
Well, there's Gravity Rush Remastered.
That's next week. Yeah. Well, I've put like 30 some hours into the PC version of Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen.
Oh, you have?
Came out, which is good enough for me for January.
Yeah. But I'm saying, like, one of these games should have taken advantage of this window.
Yeah, I think you're still running into the problem of like a lot of these games weren't ready.
Done. Yeah.
They got to be done first.
All right, so let's move on to the last topic of the first episode of 2016. We're going to talk very briefly about indie games. We're both picking 2 games that we've kind of plucked out of, because, I mean, look, at this point,
There's a
there's
lot.
so many indie games, man. Like, we could have done a whole show alone on indie, which maybe we should have, but instead we decided to crunch it down to 4 games. And, Matt, what is your first pick for indie games to watch?
My first pick for an indie game to watch is Below.
Below. And that is an Xbox One exclusive.
It is. By Kathy
For how
Barra.
long? Who knows?
For a while. I am not entirely convinced it will make it this year, but I hope it does.
There's not a lot of media for this game out there either.
No. There was like one big trailer and one like they demoed it last year,
Yeah.
a couple years ago. But it's very, it's obviously it's a pixel art kind of dark, sort of dungeony, crawly, explory sort of thing. But it's very informed by Dark Souls. And the dev team is really going for that kind of a thing, that sort of very heavily skill based thing. And the art style's really working for it, and I hope it comes out soon this year.
My first pick is Abzu.
I was going to pick this one, but you already picked it first.
Yeah, you did try to pick it, and I was like, too late, sucker.
Too late. I got the whales. The whales are on my team.
So this game reminds me a lot of Journey. I think it reminds a lot of people of Journey. It's set, it appears to be set underwater, but I wouldn't be surprised if eventually you go above the surface of the water. But it's just kind of one of those meandering adventure games full of mystery and interaction with your surroundings, very subtly emotional.
It reminds me of Endless Ocean.
Really?
Those Wii games.
Really?
Yeah.
Maybe a little bit.
Because you're underwater, swimming around, looking at stuff. And
Yeah.
Endless Ocean had a lot more like.
Yeah. See, here's actually a scene where you're above ground and you're actually walking, so it's not just all set underground.
Well, yeah, there's like obviously some weird kind of abyss style like alien stuff going on here, but
it's a mysterious game. It's very ambiguous. It looks like it's one of those games where like you'll get out of it what you put into it type thing, just like Journey. Like and I think also it'll be polarizing like Journey was. Like some people are going to be like, oh my god, it's like the best game that ever came out. And other people are going to be like, I liked it. Like I actually wasn't a huge fan of Journey. Like I liked it. I didn't think it was like Game of the Year material because it was like a 2-hour experience or whatever. But I did really enjoy what I did play of it. So I'm excited about Abzu. It should be making it out this year. They've put out a couple pieces of media for it already. It is an indie game. I don't expect it to be a 40-hour experience. They should be able to finish it up in time. So that's my first pick. And what's the second for you?
My second pick is Hyper Light Drifter.
That's a good one.
Which is actually similar looking to.
It does. They look almost identical. Yeah.
I guess I like that art style. But,
yeah.
It's got a. It's kind of a Zelda sort of thing. If you can see pretty obviously, it's got a Zelda idea happening here. But I dig the top-down isometric dungeon crawly thing. I mean, these are the two that I got my eye on the most. Outside of another one that I didn't pick because I thought you were going to pick it, but you didn't. So I'll mention that.
Mention it. Go ahead.
I thought you were going to pick Adrift.
No,
which would have been one of my other picks.
I don't think I would classify that as an indie game, though.
No?
Not now that there's big Oculus bucks behind it and everything. I mean, it's going to be like Oculus's killer app.
Yeah, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's more than just like a little indie game now. Maybe it started that way, because I think it is published by 505 Games, is that right?
That sounds right.
Which is traditionally an indie.
But I mean, it's by
publisher.
the guy that got fired by Microsoft from the Twitter.
Right.
I mean, that's a real Cinderella story right there.
Yeah, so. That's a good story, actually. It's good to hear. Yeah, I'm excited for Adrift as well. And there again, like another awesome game that we didn't even mention in this whole show, and we've talked about like 60 games. My last pick is Firewatch. I think everybody knows what Firewatch is. It's a first-person adventure game where you literally play as like a fireman out in the wilderness. It's kind of got a lot of isolation to it. There's a woman that talks to you on the radio who kind of keeps you grounded a little bit. But otherwise, it's just kind of you out there against nature.
I almost picked this one, too. This was definitely on my short list.
I like it because it's different. Like, look, there's a lot of first-person wandering games, but they're all like horror games and like jump scares. And this one is just kind of like you take a job, and it just so happens that it's a really interesting job and one that a lot of people wish they could do but are probably too petrified to. So the atmosphere is great. I love the visuals. I love the art style. I like the whole aesthetic of the game. I think it's going to be I think a lot of people are going to be all over this game when it comes out. I think it's definitely going to come out.
There's that little element of mystery where it's like who's on the radio with you.
Right, yeah. And, there's some of the trailers have been like, the girl on the line's like, I like you more than the other guy. There's just this weird, like, you can just tell there's something about the game and there's some hidden, like, secret about it and something's going to happen in this game that you're just like, what? So I'm really excited for that one. There's so many good indie games, though, coming out this year. I mean, you could just go on and on. There were a lot of great ones last year. And there's already been a great one that came out this year already. Darkest Dungeon is a great indie game. If you guys...
And you're really starting to hit the point where it's hard to tell the difference between them and the quote-unquote
and the AAA. Big budget AAA, whatever you want to call it these days. So yeah, wow. There it is, people. There it is.
Your 2016.
Your 2016.
Yeah, 3-hour nutshell.
Yeah, I mean, think about that, dude. Like, all these games, and we didn't even mention... probably even half of the ones that are going to be worth playing.
Yeah.
So I will stand by it. The 2016 could be the best year ever for video games. I mean, it's the ball's on the tee.
Yeah.
The developers just need to give it a good whack at this point. So that's it.
Yeah.
That's our opening episode of GameFace for 2016. We are going to take some of your questions now. The other thing I should say, too, is that for those of you that are watching us on the stream, after we wrap up the show, we are coming right back. We're going to take a little break, like 10 minutes or so, just so we can use the bathroom, because we've been sitting here for like almost 3 hours. We're going to go hit the bathroom, take a break, and then we're going to come right back with our 2016 SFL Sifted Fantasy League Draft. It's Matt versus me this year. As you guys well know, I am the reigning champ after beating Marcus last year. I will say already that Matt did a lot better than Marcus. Already I know that. He actually prepared for it and actually cared enough to get himself together and get a list together for his draft. So
No better than to screw with Shane Satterfield on a draft.
So we're going to answer your questions. Send in your questions now. I do want to mention something else before we go. There is a brand new show launching on Sifted probably in the next couple days. I'm not going to spoil anything about it. It's nothing you would ever expect from someone you would never expect it from. It's not something I've talked about before. It's something that I tried to make happen when the site launched. The guy ended up taking a job and said he couldn't do it any longer, and I was really disappointed about it. And then he approached me right before the holidays and said, hey, I can do it now. So a brand new show is going to be coming to the site within the next few days. He's putting the polishing touches on it right now. I have not got to look at a cut of it yet, but I should be seeing that. He lives in Europe, so I should be looking, and there's a clue for you. So I should be looking at it probably tomorrow morning. He'll probably send it while I'm asleep tonight. So
Cooking show, isn't it?
You got it. Now you're cooking with games, baby.
You're cooking meals seen in video games. That's what it is.
But yep, a brand new show. The show will not be weekly. It's a really challenging show to produce, and it's really time consuming. So the show will be once every 3 weeks, is what it seems like. I'll be able to get each episode done. Once you see the show, you'll know why, because it's really time intensive to produce a show. So yeah. Brand new show coming to Sifted in the next couple days. Look out for it. Let's see if we have any questions here. Surprised you guys didn't mention how good 2015 was. Most people, myself included, are still catching up on fall 2015 games. That's from J. Reed Vic 7. I think we did kind of mention.
A little bit. There was a lot of good stuff in 2015. But a lot of the good stuff in 2016 was supposed to be good stuff in 2015.
Yeah, exactly. Well. And hopefully that isn't. Hopefully we're not sitting here a year from now talking about 2016 like that. But yeah.
You remember when we thought Persona 5 would be out in 2016?
Yeah. I mean, 2015 was a good year, but
better than 2014.
Yeah, there's no 1998, I guess is the best way to put it. I mean, we're talking about like upper echelon. You know, that sound you make when something really impresses you. Let's see. Ryan Stevens reporting he's wearing a tutu. No, that's definitely not it. Wilson 108, do you guys have a New Year's gaming resolution? Matt, do you have one?
Nope.
No?
No. I mean, I would like to finish up some of the open world games that are sitting around. I mean, maybe I could finally get to the end of Mad Max or something.
Yeah.
I feel guilty starting new open world games now because I've got so many that are just sort of sitting around unfinished.
My New Year's gaming resolution is to play more indie games. It's almost become a necessity for me, honestly, because I just don't have huge chunks of time anymore free to sit down and play like 30 and 40-hour games. Like, I've discovered that. Like, I decided to try to tackle the game eval for Xenoblade Chronicles X. And funny, the game eval for Xenoblade Chronicles X is still not published because I don't have the time to play a 70-hour game for review anymore. And like, in hindsight, I wish I had assigned that game eval to somebody, but like, I kind of promised some people, some of our subscribers, that I was going to handle the game eval, and so when I thought about passing it off to somebody, like, I got this guilt pang where I was like, no. I told a couple people I was going to do it. So just so you know, I am still chugging along on that game, and eventually I will deliver the game eval for that game.
I'm still chugging along on that game, and I loved it, and I'm not even under a deadline.
I'm not promising anything. Now you're starting to see like my sickness come back a little bit after talking for 3 hours. I'm not promising anything because I'm still probably halfway done with it, but eventually I will deliver the game eval for that game, and by then nobody will give a crap about it. Let's see. Are there any games? This is from Vox91. Are there any games that you've mentioned are more priority than others in regards to what you play?
As in, like, things I'd play ahead of other things?
Well, I mean, the point that's being made basically is like, there's no way we're going to have time to play all these.
Right.
I mean, we don't have time to play half of these, Matt. Not even half. We'll be lucky to play a third of these games. So, yeah. There are definitely games I'm prioritizing. I can just...
Finish, maybe. I'll play most of them, I think.
Really?
Yeah.
No.
I mean, maybe not the ones like Homefront. I'm probably not going to play that.
Yeah. I mean, I can quickly go through. Uncharted 4, Horizon, Last Guardian, Street Fighter, Gears.
Yeah, I can play Quantum Break.
Not a priority. I'm trying to cut it down to the essence here. Zelda U.
I'm going to play
Mass Effect Andromeda.
The majority of these, I would say.
No Man's Sky. Dishonored 2. Ghost Recon Wildlands. And then both the indie games. That's just like me skimming off the very top. Mm-hmm. Like the cream. Like making skim milk. Skimming that fat right off the top. So yeah.
So many Amish references this week.
Yeah, you're right. What's going on? I did just come back from central Pennsylvania, by the way.
True.
It might have something to do with it. Let's see. From Solo Dolo 241, do you really think we'll see Watch Dogs 2 instead of AC this fall? I don't.
I do.
You think we'll see Watch Dogs 2?
I don't know if we'll see Watch Dogs 2, but we will not see Assassin's Creed.
No. I think that's already kind of been confirmed.
I mean, I don't know what else. I mean, I don't know. I guess
I just don't think we'll see Watch Dogs 2.
Probably not. I feel like we're probably going to see Ghost Recon in the place of Assassin's Creed.
That's what I'm thinking as well. From J. Reed, Vic 7, we already answered one of his questions. From High Tech Point, are you going to play the new Hitman when it comes out?
I don't really care about Hitman.
I really don't care either. I think the last game was the last one I gave a chance to.
Yeah, I've tried to play that series
again, another
times,
game we didn't even mention in this whole preview.
And it just doesn't click with me for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I don't know. I feel like it doesn't it's like, I know people love how open that series is in terms of how you can approach things, but to me it always feels like it just doesn't communicate what you can do properly.
Yeah.
And so I just feel a little lost.
I always feel like they're too trial and error, and I will say the last game did a lot to remedy that, but I still felt like there was a lot of trial and error in that game as well. Even though when the developers would demo it, they'd show you, like, here's 3 different ways to do this mission. Mm-hmm. I felt like the missions that they chose to demo that with were, like, the only ones that actually worked that way.
Right.
So, yeah, I feel like I've fallen out of love with Hitman. I was never a huge fan of it in the first place.
The closest I think I got to really liking one of them a lot was Contracts.
Yeah.
Just because
That's
of
the one I played
variation
the most.
on it, how varied it was, and kind of how, sort of like how I like Jedi Academy, because like it was like everything was its own little challenge, its own little world. Maybe due to the episodic nature of this one, it might have the Contract sort of feel to it.
It does. I mean, that is kind of what it is, yeah.
But, I don't know. One way or the other, I'll wait until it's all out before I play it, probably. I tend to wait on episodic games.
All right, let's see if we have any more questions. Looks like you guys are just talking amongst yourselves. What about Need for Speed from High Tech Point?
What about Need for Speed?
I mean, we just got one.
Yeah. I don't think we're going to see another one for
another 2 years. I mean, the last one didn't sell well.
No.
And it deservedly so. It wasn't that great. So
it might be time to try another Burnout.
Yeah.
Anyone? How about just? I wish EA was not.
Well, the Burnout developers announced today they made a golf game. The ex-Burnout developers, an extreme golf game. I can't remember the exact name of it, but it's literally an extreme golf game where you explode stuff playing golf.
Great.
Yeah.
Can't wait to play the crash mode in that. I just wish that EA wasn't quite so dead set against like HD remaster stuff, because I'd play Burnout 3 HD in a drop of a hat. I would love to go back to some of those games or Porsche Unleashed HD or something like that.
Yeah.
I wish they would go back into their catalog and do something with that. Well, we're at it. How about a new Starflight game?
Yeah.
Those are dreaming.
Wilson 108. Destruction Golf is what it's called.
Destruction Golf.
Yeah. Solo Dolo. Any info on new Sifted shows to share? I just shared
just
it.
did that.
I just told you about a new show that's launching in the next couple days.
And if you missed it, you're going to have to go check the archive. I
You're
guess.
going to have to watch the whole 3-hour show to the end now. On
Tuned
Sifted.
in right at the end to ask that question. We already did it. That's really...
I mean, he tuned in right at the end because
Yeah.
I literally just talked about it 5 minutes ago. So, all right. Well, that's going to wrap up the show. First episode of 2016. I think it was a really good one. I know my throat is already sore. We still have a draft to get through here. I must have to go get a lozenge or something like that. So like I said, for you guys on the stream, stick around. We're going to come right back after a 10 or 15 minute break to do our fantasy game draft for 2016. For everybody else who can't stick around, thanks for watching as always. For all you peeps in Europe, thanks for staying up late. We always appreciate it. But it's time for us to go. GameFace is up and out.